Well, good morning.
When have we ever filmed an offsite?
The July 22nd, 2025 off-site work session is now in order. Paul, roll call, please.
Mr. Trent?
Here.
Mr. Susan?
Here.
Ms. Wright?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Campbell?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Never have done that. Is there a flag? Never have. I have a flag.
I think it's young for the summer.
We'll put a flag up. I have a flag here.
Got one?
All right, we'll go to you.
Let's all face Mr. Thomas.
All right. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a workshop, not offsite.
Here's our pledge to Mr. Thomas's flag.
All said fine. All right. Dr. Rendell, can you speak to the board about the items on the agenda for today?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're going to start with member matters. It's the different things that the members want to talk about with each other, set some goals and topics to discuss. After that, Mr. Gibbs is going to provide us with a public records process update. And then we do need to have a hard stop at like 11:30, 12 at the latest, so that we can have a budget presentation, at least a budget process presentation. And also, if time permitting, Mrs. Han would love to present construction procurement process. This was a presentation she was scheduled to present at the next work session next week on the 29th. But it is the only topic on the work session for next week on the 29th. So if we were able to knock that out today, we would love to, and we could cancel the work session next Tuesday. One of the reasons is Vivian Sleeth's service is next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So several of us would like to attend that. So if we have time today and we can knock out that procurement process presentation, we'd love to do that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, board, who would like to go first? Over there.
I'm happy to. We'll start down here.
All right, sounds good.
Do I need the microphone or is that picked up?
It should be picking up on this one.
Okay. And it's just so I understand the process, we're just basically naming a few of our priorities among a myriad of things that we really want to see improvement on this year.
So, what I would like to maybe start off with here is this is a good time for us to have it at the end of the summer, getting ready to go into the year. So you could be micro and macro when you're speaking. So even in your district, just so we're aware of some of the things that maybe you're going to prioritize, even try to do, like to see. Maybe we can help you in a certain way, and then maybe even on the bigger scale as far as district and some of the things you'd like to see us maybe
You
focus
can help by
on.
voting for anything I present. That would be really
Well, you just took my talking point, so thanks, John.
You can just say yes.
And I
Yes.
apologize for being late. Before John jumps in, is this more like as a board things that we want to do, or things we want to see in the district?
I'd like to say yes and yes.
All right.
All right, you guys?
So, just going over without diving into great detail on any of them, I'd really like to see us overall improve our healthcare as best we can. I know we all have an interest in that from previous discussions, as well as reducing the cost for our staff as much as we can. I'm really passionate about improving our third grade reading levels, and along with that, increasing BPK enrollment. And I've been working with the Boys and Girls Club, the City of Palm Bay, and some community leaders to do a community reading program, but we're kind of at a standstill because the Boys and Girls Club doesn't have the funding to. We actually have a location available in Palm Bay. The Boys and Girls Club doesn't have funding to pay for personnel that could oversee a program in Palm Bay, South Melbourne area. And obviously that's huge because South Melbourne, Palm Bay probably has the most critical need, or one of the most critical needs in the county. So that's something I'm going to see what I can do through the community, or hopefully with you guys being aware of it, maybe we'll run across somebody that can help the Boys and Girls Club provide that funding. Another, I've been working with Dr. Rendell on a CTE STEM program with the Astronaut Memorial Foundation and the Center for Space Science, and hopefully we'll see that take life this year. And then last but not least, I would like to see us talk about adjusting our pay scale for teachers to compensate for experienced teachers. I know that's The union has been against that, to my understanding, over the past years, but I think that's something, if we're going to attract experienced teachers moving forward, that it's like a critical need, because if we can't keep, in my opinion, we can't keep on hiring, people that come in. I think last year 55% of the teachers we hired were not teachers by trade, and I think that over the long run is going to hurt us as far as administration as we go to select principals in 5 or 10 years, and just being able to provide quality teachers. We get the world's best and brightest here for companies, and we have to educate their children, and if we're going to keep attracting kids to our schools, we need to provide the best teachers we can. So that's definitely an issue that I think we need to address. I know it's not an easy one, but I think it's one that's, for the overall health of the district, that's going to be an important one. And just in a nutshell, that's it.
All right.
All right. Any comments on John's list, or do you want to just run through ours? 'Cause I know we'll probably have some overlap.
It's whatever.
I missed the memo that we were supposed to come with our priorities. Did that get sent out?
You
or-
know, I think it was just a general. This is.
I mean,
one of
John
the
probably
things
walks
we're doing.
around with this all the time.
Yeah.
Very goal oriented.
Yes, I appreciate that about him. Okay, so I don't want to go next.
Okay, I get it.
All right, I guess I'll jump in there.
All right.
So for the next coming year, we all obviously have been placed on different areas within our strategic plan to focus on. So academic excellence, I will be tracking closely, and I'll report back to the board any kind of information I find there on how we can improve our schools, our stores, all that fun stuff. No surprise should this be to any of you, because you've heard me talk about it 1.5 times. Challenger 7 started school yesterday, so the modified calendar, and really just talking to our communities all over the district. I would love to get feedback from them, and then working through some of the challenges there with like dual enrollment and sports. Those seem to be common questions that we hear from people in the secondary world. How is that going to work for secondary? So working through some of those hurdles, and then having answers, and then maybe potentially, if the board should approve, maybe going on some type of, let's go out and talk about it and see what everyone thinks. The health insurance, obviously, board, we've all been receiving emails from our staff over the concerns with health insurance, so that's a priority for me. That needs to be handled this year and improved for all of our employees. And then, one of the things I think that we see, challenges that we face is we will have a rockstar principal, and I'm going to use mine as an example, doing amazing things, and then they will want to advance their career, which they by all means absolutely deserve that ability and that promotion. But the build your own pool for principals, I would like to strengthen that and work with our district on how are we going to ensure that we have a potential leader that's out there ready to take the next step into becoming a principal. When a principal leaves, whether it be for promotion or relocation or whatever the case is, that creates a lot of, it's difficult in our schools. So I would like to deepen that pool or revive it, maybe put some more water back in it, if that makes sense. So, and then the other thing I think that we would be smart to look at, because enrollment has been a challenge, and we're seeing education shift as far as where our students are going, is I think it would be worth the board really taking a good close look at a marketing campaign to our rising VPK kindergarten students. So strategically really trying to market to them the programs that we have in their area, and it's going to be an upfront expense, I would assume, to do that, because we're going to have to really hone in on where are our rising students coming from. But trying to make sure that they know what's available to them, because what we see with a lot of the charters, or the choice even, they do a great job at marketing, and we need to get better at marketing to our clientele, so to speak, which would be our families and our students. So those are some things I'd like to see for this coming year, with board support obviously on each one of them. Sorry, I know we're spitting off like a lot of things, but
No.
you're asking, what do we want to see for 1 year? And I'm going, oh, I could shoot for the moon. I'll give you 150 different ideas, but maybe if we just focus on these ones, these would be
Well, it's
good.
completely okay to throw out some things that you in your wildest dreams that you'd like for us to look at, to explore, put it out. I mean, because this is the time that we have to talk.
Right.
We don't have one-on-one meetings throughout the week
I know.
to go through things. So it's completely okay. So we won't hold you on anything that
Okay.
Go ahead.
If I come back next year and none of these are done, I'm going to be yelling. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Well,
we'll
I'm sure you're
work
going to
on
look into them
it.
anyway.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Susan?
Okay, Jared, go.
No, but I've asked to not give me a little more time.
She's
I'll pull
cramming
myself
for the
together because
test.
I didn't get the memo
Yeah,
we were supposed to come
Maybe
with
just a
this.
couple things. I know we're going to
I
go
think-
detail on this, a couple
I
of
think
them.
first thing I'd like to say is normally an offsite is just the board members and Lena. And if the staff wants to come in, they can. And we usually have a little bit of a setup. There's not a problem doing it here. I just want you guys to know that normally an offsite is that, like what we had in December, where we just kind of sit back and talk throughout the day on a series of topics and stuff like that. So I'm glad that we have this because we have some pending issues that are going on. But I just wanted to let you guys know. Today, of course, a lot of the stuff that you guys talked about is exactly what we're focused on. And my thing that we've been working on for the last 18 months is healthcare, and I wanted to kind of overview kind of the direction that we see things when it comes time. And then a lot of the other things that we talked about, we can talk about later. I'll just leave that alone. But my main focus today was the healthcare.
Okay. And then did you plan on maybe when we run through this that you had something a little deeper you wanted to go into on the healthcare?
Yeah, I got a whole presentation. ready to
I
go.
thought so. So
Yeah.
we're good with that too.
I'm pretty ready. Here we
You study for the test. I can
go. I
cram.
told myself. I mean, I can always bring out other things.
I mean, we won't hold you to this if you want to add.
I mean, I may have more, but first a couple things. I was just looking back through my notes of the last month or so.
Same.
I have talked a lot with Dr. Rendell about our communication to the community regarding the millage and the sales surtax. 2026 is when those will be up for renewal. And just to give a little history, when we were going out for the renewal of the sales surtax in 2019-2020, we did a really big, and the board asked for this. Hey, we need to start communicating what we've done, especially since the first sales surtax was a lot of behind the walls type things. There wasn't really as much of things that you can see. You can't see air conditioning, you can't see electrical wiring and cabling that goes through. There's a lot of like inner things. Sue's shaking her head. So we really had to do a push that year. Your sales tax dollars at work. We have that tagline created and started putting signs out. This is what was done at this school. And then when the board decided, to go out for the renewal, we really put that list out of this is what the next one's going to do. Now, in the last this round, we've had lots of things that people can see. They can see schools being painted. They can see classroom furniture. Their kids are enjoying the benefits of the technology that's like interface technology. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it's not just in the walls. And so it's a little bit easier, but it's really, I think we've started to lag a little bit on the communication of that. And with the millage, because it's new, communicating that with clarity, not just for our oversight committee, but also for the board and for the community. Here, the salary part is easy because we have that negotiated every year. We can communicate. Our experienced teachers got up to $7,000 a year additional salary. We use this much on recruiting, but even the things like, okay, we spent, and I can't remember where we ended up funding the vans. So if I mess that up, we bought this many vans for the high schools for activities. We paid for media assistance out of this. We paid for athletics. We offset the athletic costs out of this. We bought uniforms for these schools in vans and things like that. But to really start putting that message out there, because the community needs to know, just like with the sales surtax, that when we did what we said we would do with it, and we did good things with it. So I really want us to, especially since we're getting on the time, it's never too soon to start to share what we're doing with the dollars that we've been given. And so I really want to see that communication ramped up in the next, starting soon. Starting this school year. It's not too soon for both, because we will have the sales tax and the millage to talk about next year. Kind of similar to that, I would like to see a better partnership with the Board of County Commissioners. We have at different times had okay relationships, occasionally antagonistic with a few people, but we have almost completely revamped Board of County Commissioners now, and I couple of things that I would like to see us partner with them is, one, getting them into our schools, to go on visits with us and to see what's going on, even though their decision making doesn't usually directly affect our schools. Just like our legislators, they are an important partner, and so I'd like to see more of them getting involved in school visits, maybe with us, board. But on a couple of issues in particular, having a conversation with someone last week about they will also be putting a sales tax renewal up, and that's for the Indian River Lagoon. And to be quite honest, board, what I would love to see is I would love to see the 5 of us standing arm in arm, side by side with the 5 of them, going out to our community and saying, we know we're asking a lot of you, but all of these things are important. The Indian River Lagoon is important. The facilities of our schools are important. And can we stand rather so that it's not to the public a competition? Please renew our sales tax. No, please renew our sales tax. That is side by side, and that we don't do a whole lot of across the street. But I would love to have some bridge building. I think when we talk about our healthcare stuff, the People One Health that 3 of us were able to go and visit last week, maybe there's a partnership there that we could, we could say, hey, let's join. We've talked about it before. I know Mr. Susan brought it up in years past, but somehow we've never really been able to get that. And my perspective is, from my 7 years, is our district staff have had a good relationship with the staff across the street, but that always hasn't related to our board and their board. So I'd like to see better partnerships with our county commissioners, like some other counties do, in communicating in relationships. 2 more quick things. One is, if you haven't already seen, our airport is going to start hosting honor flights in September or August.
I think the first one is in August.
In August. And one of our principals, I have to give her credit, Miss Woodbury from Westside Elementary, sent an email to Dr. Rendell and I and said, hey, we're starting this. Since we're all Purple Star schools, wouldn't it be great to partner with Honor Flight and have our schools adopt? They do one a month, right? And adopt with letter writing, because they have people write cards and they give them to the honorees, maybe musical performances before they head off, whatever it may be. But that would give our schools a very practical, hands-on opportunity to celebrate the military, to celebrate our veterans, and it would be a long-distance thing for some of our far north schools for sure, and even our far south.
Still do it.
But the letter writing and all of that, and I think it would be great to have schools adopt those. And so I've already thrown that out, Dr. Rendell, and it's such an easy ask, especially if you're dividing it out over the schools throughout the year. I'd love for us to be a big part of the honor flight coming to Brevard. And then the final thing that I just grabbed off of my list real quick is graduation rates, grabbing all those kids that we're missing. It's a problem that every district faces. When we were at FSBA, I went to a great session hosted by Osceola about the things they're doing. They have an academy that's similar to one of our charter schools, Riverside. I was about to say Riverview. Riverside, who is kind of catching for us students who would have very likely dropped out. They have very low GPAs. Their credits they're way far behind on their credits for graduation, and so what Riverside does is they accelerate and they move them forward. Well, Osceola is doing something they have their own academy that's doing that, but they're also working with a group called
Graduation Alliance.
Thank you, Dr. Rendell. Graduation Alliance, who's partnering with them to really work to get as many of those students across the finish line. That can only help us. If we catch kids who have disappeared, and that's what Graduation Alliance does, kids who have disappeared off of the FTE, and they're tracking them down, and if we can track down 100 out of 200 students, and we can get them back into school in some fashion, whether it's through BBS or through back to school or going through some accelerated program, through our adult ed, whatever, if we can get more kids across the finish line, it's best for students to have that degree, but it's also best for our district to have more students good across the finish line with their cohort, and it raises our graduation rate. So that's just I think that would be whatever out of the box thinking. And I hold up Osceola just because I know I've been to a couple presentations they've done, and they're doing some really out of the box type things. And they're our neighbors so close to us. We have good relationships between us and Osceola, and would like to see us take on some initiative or partnership, because our people are stretched thin. But if we can add in partnership where we're asking them to do the work to partner with us, I think that would be a good thing.
Mr. Chair, can I chime in on something?
Yes,
in,
absolutely.
In regards to what she's saying there.
That's what-
And I want to explore this because this came up in the North End one time last year, and it's probably going to come up, I would imagine, more so in the future. But speaking with a student or student's family that was going through an expulsion, and really listening to the family on, like, they're just at their wits' end. This child wanted to go to adult ed. For whatever reason, they seemed to not. They just didn't ever they never enrolled into adult ed and out of their traditional school setting, and just kept getting in with the wrong crowd, and ended up ultimately falling into expulsion because they didn't want to be at that school anymore. And the family had asked, can't they just go to adult ed? And so my understanding, and I want to make sure this is correct, and if this is a policy thing, it's something we probably need to revisit. In that instance, when they've made it all the way to expulsion, I mean, you're out 365 for true expulsion. Could we as a board say, or adult education? Like, is that an option to maybe explore as another route to get them? Because then now they're not going to be with their cohort any longer with graduation, so it's going to impact that graduation rate. So just as another way of, like, okay, it's not working here. Could this be an option, or do we have a policy right now that says 365? No other.
It all depends on the offense. I mean, to be honest, with the new pathways, the online pathway that we set up,
Yeah.
they would probably be able to be accommodated through that. If not, adult ed could be an option.
Okay.
To follow what Mrs. Campbell was mentioning, Mr. Raymer has already met with Graduation Alliance
Good.
and another company called Acceleration Academy. They're both dropout recovery type of programs. And so we're looking at both of those to see which one might fit our needs. One of the reasons we wanted to talk with either of them, both of them, to explore another option besides Riverside is that Riverside is in Melbourne.
Right.
So it really does serve the south end of the county. So if you're a student that's struggling with the traditional model, you're not being successful and you want to go to this other model, Riverside's there for you. But really anything north of Melbourne, there's no alternative pathway, no alternative school for you that meets this need. So Graduation Alliance and Acceleration Academy are both those types of programs, and so we were thinking of partnering with one of them. And Graduation Alliance is a fully online program, so you can do it anywhere. Acceleration Academy has a brick and mortar, so a school facility like Riverside. So if we were to go with with Acceleration Academy, the brick and mortar, we would place it in the north or north central, so the students up there have an option. So we're already
All right.
Yeah.
working on it,
Good.
and there's always different pathways.
Okay.
So even a kid facing expulsion, we should be able to find some pathway.
Okay. Sounds good.
So Katie's good. She's done for the year now.
Right.
She's got
One
already
check,
working.
one
Yeah,
thing's
already
check.
working. Yeah.
Well, part of that is, and I tried not to. I don't think there's anything that I said that I haven't said to Dr. Rendell.
Right.
These are not surprises. These are concerns that I've had through the months, and just I'm getting the first time to share it with you guys this board.
We're okay with surprises as well. if you want. This
Well,
is-
I know, but I
I
don't usually try to throw surprises on the superintendent.
all right. Well, I guess I'll go.
Mr. Susan.
Well, he did, didn't
He just did healthcare.
Just insurance. That's it. Really?
He had a couple things, but he
Okay.
really wants to share with his
Okay.
family.
he? Yeah, we're gonna give him the dance floor
We'll get
that
a
we want.
floor here.
You're
for
going to get a
while.
really long time to present.
So I got a few things here. A few on the I'll piggyback on a few things that Megan and Mr. Thomas said there. Mr. Thomas with the teacher pay. I think we talked about this too, and I'd like to explore this. As I know Dr. Rendell and others, when we talk about spending money right now today, their skin crawls a lot, and it's understandable. But still, right is right. And I talk about the experienced teachers. I think I would really like to explore what other districts are doing as far as giving teachers that are coming from outside the district and outside the state their years of experience. I just think that's respectful, and I'm not saying this is what we should do here, but this is something that when we want to attract the best and the brightest, it's not always right out of college or out of other jobs, but other districts and picking off their best. Florida is very attractive to people across the country right now, and one of the biggest things that keep families from relocating is their pay. They've worked a decade or two or more in a profession, and then they don't feel they're getting compensated. So they stay where they're at. So we would welcome them. So if that's what you're talking about, I'm all for that. And even for experience on if it's a band director or if it's a football coach or anything like that, experience matters, and we're paying for that expertise to be around our children. So that's something that I would like to see on there. Megan, then that's right. Yeah, we're very excited now to see how the Challenger experience goes this year, and that's going to be kind of my theme. Is we've put something in place. They've probably made a little tweaks and adjustments, and now they're seeing how it is the second year, the second go around. But we're also looking at that for the whole district is to see how things work out. So I'm very excited about that. The healthcare, I just want to get it right best we can, and I'm kind of glad this is being recorded and videoed, because I want to put my 100% support behind board member Susan, who's dedicated a big part of his adult career in this field, and he's an expert in that field. He's not just a board member that got elected and this is a hobby for him. So we're excited to give him all the time and the attention to that matter. And again, I just want to get it right. We have no advantage to not do the best for our teachers and staff. That doesn't it doesn't benefit us at all. We're all part of that. Many of us are part of that system to begin with. So we want to get it right. So I'm glad a few of us are still on that. So where we're at as a district, again, every time I see anyone who works at the district, I just want to say congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work. 2 years in a row. That's awesome. But this is how it goes. Even if some of you that were teachers in the room can think, if we can think back that long ago to our first day stepping into our first job, I was always taught that there's phases in teaching. The first time, you think you have a plan. You go in that first year with your lesson plans, and then you're wondering whoever wrote these things, but you have a plan. So you reflect, you adjust, and you come out again, and then you do it. And then you reflect and you adjust. And usually about that third year, when you think you know everything, you kind of just sit back and you teach and you see what worked. And I think this board as a whole, I know we've been here different years. John still has his diapers on here, but we'll catch up. But we kind of came in 2022 kind of with a lot of us with the same reasonings, or we heard the same things from our district. And you might not think so, but we made a few changes when we got on the board, and then we reflected, we adjusted, and now it's on this is all my point of view right here, is we need to let leadership lead and see what happens. If we want to do a football analogy, I believe this board decided to build the district through the draft. And sometimes then you got to sit back and let the players play. We started with leadership with the new head coach, and changed out some of the coordinators, and we're very excited about the success we had early. And we got to be careful not to do the Jerry Jones of school districts and step below our levels and tell people how to do their jobs. And if we ever do that, I apologize, but I believe we're in a really good spot, that we've had success maybe earlier than we thought we would, and now it's going to be hard for some of us, but we need to let the leadership lead and let them do their jobs. And this year, I believe that's going to be, my emphasis is sitting back and say, okay, we can still have concerns, but what are we doing about it? Not necessarily going below the surface and trying to, correct things myself. So, good job, board. Good job, Dr. Rendell, in putting together this team. I think something that's not noticed enough is the reorganization of of the district. That really, I think, has led to our success. You know, at least a big portion of it. When you have, you know, it'd be like I'll stay with football here. I won't say FSU or Florida because I'm not from a state that even really has college football. But it's like having we had before where we had like 2 offensive coordinators. It was almost impossible to get anything done, and 2 defensive coordinators. So you recognize that and you change that up. So I'm excited for this year. Yes, did we lead the league in every category? No, but overall, I think we can sit back and, you know, not pat ourselves in the back, but give you guys a big old clap and say, you know, we're anxious to see what happens this year. Same thing on the discipline. It needed some attention. I think we all remember that. We made some changes, some at the district level, you know, some at the school level, and we allowed the principals to be principals, and we allowed teachers to teach. And you know, some people predicted, you know, we would have higher referrals in some areas, and it happened. But also now that's going to lead into hopefully the other part. We think, you know, when you take care of the speeding tickets, the major accidents go away. So this is a really important year to see, well, the plan, does it work? Did it work? Is it going to do exactly, hopefully, what we thought it was going to be? So excited to see that. On the area of discipline, some specifics here on my end. I really want to help out the dean's position. These deans need our help. They are on the ground. There are soldiers out there, and you know, we have deans that are covering 6 grade levels. One person, no office no office help other than themselves, or some people that they can steal a few hours a day or a week to help them out. But you know, I liken that to our counselors who really want to see 250, 300 students each in their portfolio, and deans can have 1,000. It's and on top of that, they're doing evaluations of staff. I really would like to explore the idea of getting that position out of our leadership ladder. It could still be there, but it doesn't have to be. You know, sometimes we pass up the best person to lead our youth on that campus because they don't have a degree, they don't have that leadership, or they just don't want to be a principal. They don't want to be in that pipeline. They just want to be a dean the last 15 or 20 years or 10 years of their career, and they may be the best person for that job. The best way to, in my eyes, to have a handle on discipline is making a connection with that student, and who better than a quality teacher that they're already familiar with. So many times we have deans that move in and move out of that position so fast because first off, they don't want to be a dean, they just want to be a principal, and they want to move up the ladder. But we could have some stability at the dean's position. It's a number one for helping that community and that campus, is making those connections with those kids, because that dean knows they're going to be there. So do they need help? Yeah, maybe a TOA, maybe splitting it up into 2 positions. Just think outside the box on that. Maybe have security people that deal with certain aspects of discipline and take it completely away from the administration altogether. I know there's some districts that do that and have 3 or 4 hourly workers there that handle some things on discipline. So I'd like for us to explore that. Some of that came from a principal in our district that visited a district outside of ours, and the admin did very little with discipline, and they thought it worked really well. But those deans need our help. I'd like to see us take a deep dive in that. All right, so I know I got off on that one a little bit there. Continue to clean up our classrooms. This is time we're just going to put things out there, and we're doing a good job, but I know the state had talked about coming up with, I don't know if they've done a flag policy, but I think that's important.
It did not pass.
They didn't pass. We need to do that. We're doing a good job, but at this time of year, between now and the first day of school, I'd like to see and I'm sure every principal is walking their classrooms, walking their campus, taking a look inside, just being aware of what is on the campus. And if it's, if it's not a history government class, I'm not sure if we need to look inside and see if that, where they fall, politically or anything like that in an English class. You know, just our kids are confused enough. Let's teach and move on. But that's something that I'd like to see us continue to explore. Is our district to have some type of a flag policy there, and the ALCs. Here's the plan. Let's sit back, see how it works. I think it's going to be a great time for Brevard, that we're actually going to make, big differences in those students' lives, that we're actually doing something to tell the families and the students that, hey, you've made mistakes and we care about you, and here's the way that we're going to get you back on track. We did, and why I'm so confident of this is the success that we had in the alcohol and drug diversion program. You guys did a great job. That was just an idea, and you guys just ran with it and really helped the students, keep students on campus. Now, to the public, no, we're not keeping every single student every time on the campus and just say, here you go. So those, to those naysayers, we're going to keep the students that we feel we can have on campus, because we know that as soon as that student starts getting education off of their current campus, the quality of education dips. And if we can do something to keep them there and keep them active, that's good for us. And so we're extremely excited, optimistically excited about that program. So I'm sure we're going to do wonders there. And then never stop reflecting. Yes, we were an A district, but at the same time, we didn't hit all the benchmarks, and we know that, and you know that. So, and you're professionals, and we don't have to put a fire to your backside. Tara, you did a great job explaining that last week, and it's good enough for me. Go get them. So, thank you so much for doing that. So, I usually don't say a whole heck of a lot on certain times and at certain items, but I think this is a good time to get all of that out there. And I am looking for an unbelievable year for Brevard, and I want to thank everyone in this room. And so, where do we go? Matt, do we want to turn it over to Matt so he can do his presentation? Dr. Rendell, do you want to comment on anything?
Well, I definitely saw some themes there, some topics that came up from a lot of the different board members. So we'll take those back as action items, and I'll report back to the board on how we're going to attack these different things. So,
okay.
And we can expand the conversation on any of them if you want. Healthcare obviously was in everybody's list, and so since Mr. Susan is ready to share healthcare, then we should probably jump on that.
While he's getting queued up, I wanted, because you mentioned the ALCs, and I've had a few questions
Mm-hmm.
since then, I would encourage people who are listening to go back to the June 10th, I think, work session, where we really went through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was either June 10th or the last one in May, as far as what will be headed to the back to the schools and what will be headed to the online program. So
Right.
it was
I'll
very
check-
detailed. Yeah.
I'll check with Mr. Raymer. I think June 10th is correct.
Yeah. Okay. It was a great presentation for people to go back and look at.
So you guys spent a little bit of time over the last, as many of you guys know, this is not a conversation that we started getting emails about it because one of our union members decided to say that, we weren't taking care of it, that you should contact us and everything else, just so everybody knows we've been on this thing for the last 18 months. And I had personally told Anthony Colucci that we were going to be presenting today on the 22nd. We'd be going through it and to wait for us to go ahead. But he brought it up at that last meeting and then told all our employees to contact us about it. So great. He created the buzz that was there, but want everybody to know that we've been on this thing for the last 18 months trying to get this thing figured out, what was happening, steering it, doing all these things. And he has been in all those meetings and he'd been abreast to everything that was going on. So what I did was I put together this presentation. It's real high level, and then we'll deep dive into each one of the topics, okay? Some of the ideas are going to be both from different flow from healthcare plans to healthcare communications, overall healthcare worth, employee spend, and everything else. I did not bring any of the actual documents from SIAC because these are real high level, And if you guys want a deep dive on any of the other things like our public records requests that we might talk about and stuff like that, perfectly fine. It's just that we have so much to go over that getting into the nits and grits is going to be a little bit much. So, let me see this. See if I can get this thing started. All right, so from an overall perspective, what we've been doing, and this is not just myself, please don't think that Matt Susan's on this jihad. Mr. Ryan Dufresne has been every other week and every week working with us, doing things. Dr. Rendell, every time we meet, we're talking about healthcare. We're driving this, and this has been for the last 18 months. And some of the things that you may or may not know that they've made moves on already have been in concert with improving our healthcare plan. But so that everybody understands, moving a healthcare plan is like shifting the Titanic. You can't just all of a sudden start putting stuff in. And a lot of the stuff that we put in this year won't even become effective until 27, just so you know, just because of the way things work. So I broke it down this way: improve wellness of employees, reduce costs, increase utilization, value, and positivity of plan. We got a real bad problem in the fact that when I went around to all my schools, I asked all of our people in the faculty, each time I walked in, tell me about your healthcare plan. Please raise your hand if anybody thinks that we have a positive healthcare plan. I went to, I think, 11 schools, and out of 11 schools, 4 people raised their hand and said no. Literally, right? So we know that this, now, is our healthcare plan bad? Absolutely not. But we've done a poor job of communicating and doing a couple other tweaks. We could reduce cost in some areas. We could have done it a while ago, but we'll get it taken care of. And then the wellness of our employees. This is where you talk about doing screenings and for people to understand that getting taken care of ahead of time means that you take care of yourself and you avoid high care cost options. So how did we get here? It was a combination of incompetent personnel hiring, weakening of SIAC oversight, and industry vendors engaged in profit for not employee wellness. Let me explain some of this. The first thing is under the previous superintendent, the risk manager was replaced with an individual possessing less experience and qualifications. There's no doubt. Mr. Langdorf, who's now up there in Titusville, who we've been in concert with to try to talk about our healthcare plan, was removed from his position, and he went up and worked up there. Amazing risk manager. During his tenure, we had no more than a 4% increase in healthcare, and he adjusted our healthcare plan almost every other year. He's the developer of the silver and the gold plan. When I spoke to him, he said, if you have not changed the gold or silver plan since its inception the last time I was there, it's probably out of whack and it needs a lot of work. So we're in concert with him to try to do some work with us also. The SIAC Insurance Committee under prior leadership saw the removal of industry expert representation and a reduction in the number of committee members. SIAC used to be each member brought somebody in that then advocated for the healthcare plan. There was a pharmacist on there. There was Chris McAlpin from Parish Medical was on there, and they literally worked the plan. Now, it was a little bit aggressive, and in future, if we decide to increase the participation of SIAC, I think we can do it in different ways. There was a combination of, we have industry experts in the room, but they were all feeding off of the healthcare plan. So not that their actions in any way were inappropriate, it just seemed like when you're advocating for certain things as a pharmacist that you end up in that role. So we'll talk about the differences there, but what ended up happening is that the SIAC oversight eventually didn't have anybody that was a true expert inside of there except for staff and maybe the consultants. And once the consultants started not acting in an appropriate way to try to steer some of the stuff, our staff was kind of held up, and that's where we ended up there. And then with the reduction of expertise in the risk management role and diminishing oversight in industry professionals in the SIAC Insurance Committee, both employee and district healthcare costs increased without a clear strategic plan in place. This is all my opinion. There may be other people that may disagree with me, but I've been in this industry. I know the people that are playing around, and that's my theory. This was from a previous superintendent and board. This is something that you guys inherited, and now since basically the last 18 months, we've been steering it, but now it's at a point where we need to make some decisions. So proposed plan of action: employee improvement, wellness of employees, reduce cost, and increase utilization, value, and positivity. It's real easy. We'll talk high level, and then we'll start grabbing down. We're going to need to make about 4 decisions and give Dr. Rendell direction today on some of it. So improve wellness of employees. We need to create a work group that works with employee groups, school boards, consultants, and benefit staff. Develop a 3-tiered plan with low-cost clinic option, healthy group option, and a final low engagement option to roll out in 2027. If we are able to move towards a better healthcare clinic option, that will reduce the costs of healthcare. Right now, we spend about between $4 and $5 million on our clinics. There's clinical models, multiple clinical models, that can come in and do a larger scope of business. And then I'll explain. So right now, the total claims that are in our healthcare clinics over at Marathon are minimal compared to the new clinical models, meaning that now there's 86% of all claims in a healthcare plan can be acted on inside of a clinic now. They're like basically large primary cares where somebody can go in, get an x-ray, get different services, and they don't have to wait. So how does your normal thing go? You go to a clinic, right? And you go to the primary care and you say, hey, they say, oh, well, you have a little bit of this or a little bit of that, and then they refer you out to other services. You're paying co-pays, you're paying other things that are just keep adding up for the same services. So in line of you getting a x-ray, you're gonna probably see 2 or 3 doctors, follow-up doctors and everything else. The new clinical models encompass all that stuff into their model. So it's one pay, you go, and as soon as you need an x-ray, you don't need to schedule another appointment, you just go. And so creating a 3-tiered system with a low-cost clinical option, healthy group option, and a final low engagement option to roll out. What that means is you have a clinic option where individuals, and these are all things that we can look at and vet out, and this is something for 2027, this is not 2026. But what ends up happening is that if you have a clinic option where they say, we can go to the clinic for the majority of our stuff and go on a high deductible plan, that will reduce the cost significantly. And then if you have a healthy group option where people are getting all of their screenings, like Collier did, so Collier County created a healthcare plan where they went heavy on all the screenings. I mean, like, where industry standard said that women needed to be mammograms at 40, they were making them go at 35. And what happened literally the next year in the Collier plan was that they caught all kinds of cancers, issues inside their staffs. But they caught them at stage 1s, not stage 4s, not stage 5s. Collier County Superintendent was the superintendent of the year, said that she would answer any of your questions. She would tell you all about her plan, but all it was is a healthy group plan where they're just screening. It doesn't mean you've got to have abs and have 4% body fat. It means that you're just going to be basically going in and getting all your screenings, getting your biometrics and everything else, and then being able to be identified for the things that you need. Are there any questions on that stuff? Does that sound about
Makes
right?
perfect sense.
You good on that?
Yeah,
Gene,
yeah.
far?
So the whole clinic thing is a lot more about quality of care as well. Because if they're sending you out, many of us just saying, "Oh, I'm not going to get it done," or it takes 3 months, like you said, and then it worsens. And if they would have just done it in a one-stop shop,
Yep.
What was it? Can you repeat the percentage that was? You said the claims could be
86.
held at the
The
86?
new, so there's a couple of options, okay? I know you guys visited one of them. That one has between 84 and 86% of all claims in-house. They pay one fee. So you pay a fee, a per member per month fee. And then what they end up doing is doing that. There are other models out there that not only do that, but they also include workers' comp, which is, we have not even touched that. That has been rising out of control costs right now. They are able to wrap in workers' comp stuff inside of their clinic, which reduces massive amounts of cost. Because when you have somebody go out for workers' comp, they're going out for all those other claims. So it's a whole other area that we're paying for that we haven't even touched. So those models can be pulled under on both houses and be brought into a clinical model.
So in the expanded clinic model that we went and visited last week, they can pretty much handle everything but surgery
Yep.
and cancer.
Yep.
I mean, maybe some other things, but like pretty
That's
much
right.
everything that you need outside of those. And they can get those things started, send them out, and then like after a surgery, they can actually bring it back in and continue with the physical therapy through their option.
And Ms. Campbell has been sitting on the SIAC forever. Thank you so much for your time on there. She's very knowledgeable about it. 92% of our healthcare costs are in 86% of those claims. So meaning that only 8% of our healthcare costs would be outside of the clinical model. Now, they're huge costs,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about those in just a second. But the bottom line is that clinical model, when we first went to Marathon, they were great. Like their model was the first of its kind. It was awesome. We built out the facilities. We did all that stuff. It's just that healthcare has evolved, and there's new models out there. Just like anything else, the healthcare market about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years, right in there, started becoming a very profitable for different industries to start innovating and coming in for the first time. Clinics, surgery centers, heart condition stuff, everything started coming in. So the third option on here, I forgot to tell you, the low engagement option, I like to call it Armageddon plans when I put them together in other places. It means you don't want to go to the low-cost option. You don't want to go to the screenings. You want to go smoke. You want to go do all your stuff. Look, that's fine. We have employees that are going to do that, but you're going to pay for that because we know that those things are going to cost us more money if you go do them. If you're not getting screened, if you're going to smoke, if you're doing all those things, go ahead. You got the option. You want to pay more. I've literally called it Armageddon plan in some of my places just so that they get like, okay, we know what that is. So when they go to click it, they're like, what is that? So those three, that's an idea of the new healthcare plan kind of model, and then develop. So two things that we need to kind of do there is also develop a massive communication system, and I'll kind of talk to you about it. In other districts, what they do in Texas and other places is they have benefit consultants at each school. This is a staff member who takes it on as a job. They get a stipend. Right now, we have $200,000 of Cigna wellness dollars. These dollars are going out to employees who get their biometrics or do these different metrics, and it's a whole game, right? It's really cool and it's innovative. But if we take all of those things and make them part of a healthy group option that people have to do, now all of a sudden you have that $200,000 that we can allocate $1,000 to each benefits counselor at each school, consultant, whatever. That person's job is to present each month a different thing from at the faculty, and then also if there's any kind of questions or any kind of engagements or anything like that, the employees can come to them and sit there. Now in some, I will tell you that we may want to change this a little bit because right over here at Vieira High School you have a massive amount of employees, and then you have over at some of our other schools 30 or 40. So you may want to up it and lower it based on that. But the idea that we give a stipend to these people becomes apparent through some of the other stuff that I'm putting on. So right now, a lot of our employees may or may not know about Surgery Plus. That thing's been humming in our district for a while. It saves us almost $2 million a year. It's incredible, right? But the problem is that not a lot of people do it. I had a teacher the other day, so it's kind of sad. She says, I have to work summer school because I had surgery. And I said, why didn't you use Surgery Plus? She goes, I didn't even know about it. I was like, that's not right. And that's not our staff's fault. That's just a communication system that we need to create, right? So, anyways.
Quick question, Matt. Why would it take to 2027 to roll out?
This we could do next year. This is difficult because all the people that want to be a part of that healthcare plan have to get their screenings. So you would literally have to, and it's not undoable, but you would have to tell everybody right now.
That we'll catch you up. But we kind of came in 2022 kind of with the same, a lot of us with the same reasonings, or we heard the same things from our district. And you might not think so, but we made a few changes when we got on the board. And then we reflected, we adjusted, and now it's on this is all my point of view right here, is we need to let leadership lead and see what happens. If we want to do a football analogy, I believe this board decided to build the district through the draft. And sometimes then you got to sit back and let the players play. We started with leadership with the new head coach, and changed out some of the coordinators, and we're very excited about the success we've had early. And we got to be careful not to do the Jerry Jones of school districts and step below our levels and tell people how to do their jobs. And if we ever do that, I apologize. But I believe we're in a really good spot that we've had success maybe earlier than we thought we would, and now it's going to be hard for some of us, but we need to let the leadership lead and let them do their jobs. And this year, I believe that's going to be, my emphasis is sitting back and say, okay, we can still have concerns, but what are we doing about it? Not necessarily going below the surface and trying to, correct things myself. So, good job, board. Good job, Dr. Rendell, in putting together this team. I think something that's not noticed enough is the reorganization of the district. That really, I think, has led to our success. At least a big portion of it. When you have, it'd be like I'll stay with football here. I won't say FSU or Florida because I'm not from a state that even really has college football. But it's like having we had before where we had like two offensive coordinators. It was almost impossible to get anything done, and two defensive coordinators. So you recognize that and you change that up. So I'm excited for this year. Yes, did we lead the league in every category? No, but overall, I think we can sit back and, you know, not pat ourselves in the back, but give you guys a big old clap and say, you know, we're anxious to see what happens this year. Same thing on the discipline. It needed some attention. I think we all remember that. We made some changes, some at the district level, you know, some at the school level, and we allowed the principals to be principals, and we allowed teachers to teach, and you know, some people predicted, you know, we would have higher referrals in some areas, and it happened. But also now that's going to lead into hopefully the other part. We think, you know, when you take care of the speeding tickets, the major accidents go away. So this is a really important year to see, well, the plan, does it work? Did it work? Is it going to do exactly, hopefully, what we thought it was going to be? So excited to see that. On the area of discipline, some specifics here on my end. I really want to help out the dean's position. These deans need our help. They are on the ground. There are soldiers out there, and you know, we have deans that are covering 6 grade levels. One person, no office no help, office help other than themselves, or some people that they can steal a few hours a day or a week.
Team meeting, presentations, you know what I mean, things throughout the year based upon the year. So like right before Christmas is when a lot of surgeries and a lot of costs start happening, and right before the summer. So what we want to do is say to people, if you're having your surgeries, have you looked at Surgery Plus?
Lantern.
If you're going to have this, you're going to do this. You see what I mean? So it's based upon that. And then when everybody comes back and they're out of shape from drinking so much and having fun over Christmas, here's some of the wellness plans. Here's yoga, here's this, you know what I mean? And then start giving incentives based on the back end for people to go do that.
Man, I just one add addition on the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
You know, I agree with having somebody there that can spell it out and explain the different aspects. But even for what we have now, like for the Surgery Plus, I think it'd be beneficial to have, you know, our video team put together short, you know, insurance for dummies, you know, kind of thing, and where they can just click on, watch a 2-minute video and understand, hey, I got Surgery Plus too. And here are the benefits.
Okay, sorry. Lantern.
Right.
Listen,
Change names,
here's
yeah.
the deal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's called Lantern now.
We'll
You
talk
know what I
about
mean?
that.
But even that's that way people can go and click and watch a quick
Yes.
video and get the basic gist of what their benefits are. Because right now, from what I've heard, it's today and other times is that the half of what we offer is pretty good, but people don't even use it because they don't understand it.
And listen, so we had a heart carve out. So when you hear me say carve out, it means we've identified something in our healthcare plan that is costing us a lot of money. We create a carve out, which is there's 300 people that have problems with their heart inside of our district. We're going to identify them and put them on this plan so that we can reduce the cost. We're going to get them healthy. We're going to do this engagement. So we brought that out, but we didn't communicate it right. It had dismal participation, and we quit it. And it wasn't because it was a bad plan. It wasn't because we weren't working our booties off. It's because we didn't have the team to do it. I talked to Ryan, and I said, look, maybe what we do is we have them give 4 presentations a year that the staff has to go back, look through, and then submit that they finished it, just like they do for other things. This is healthcare. This is our second largest claimant, like cost in our system. We should be serious about it, right? But things like that, that's part of that communications plan. So thank you for bringing that
And
up.
having a video library where they can
Yep.
access it any time just to watch whatever they want to watch.
Yep. And know that they can go there. So I have a problem with this. I'll go over there. So I was in this building meeting with staff, and I said to them, has anybody had, you know, how do you feel about your health care? I said, I'm working on it with staff and stuff like that, and eventually our school board will come in. This was last year before the end of the year, and a lady in here stood up. And she came to me and she said, I just want to tell you, I want to work with you on it. I really want to work on this plan. I said, well, what happened to you? She said she got cancer. She got a mass in December. It didn't get identified until April because of all the meetings, all the stuff, everything else. That's 4 freaking months, man.
Right.
Like that's where we're getting killed. So I wanted to know, a public records requested when they got a mass, because you can do this with data, when you get a mass and when they get the diagnosis. And I wasn't able to get that information, which should be able to get that. The whole data issue I'm going to talk about in a second as part of the solutions, but yeah, so she came up and she said she'll work with us and she actually presented to Dr. Rendell. She knew Dr. Rendell, I think, from another location.
Yep.
and she's very good. But she's one of thousands that we have here that have the same story. All right. Reduce cost. Of course, transition to a more advanced clinical care model. We know that. That's part of what we're going to be doing. We know that. Expand daily access and improve engagement. One of the other things we didn't talk about is right now under the current model, I think there's 16 that they can see, 18 a day at each one of the locations, very low amount. But when you move to a larger clinical care model, there's an opportunity to have more engagement. So you won't be full right before when we're trying to do those biometrics and all those other things, primary cares, all those things you can have them inside of there. The other thing is you can improve engagement because what exactly you said, and you couldn't ask you to say a better thing, is that when you have barriers to care, like I've got to go call another doctor, set the appointment, now all of a sudden it takes so long that not only does my issue get worse, but then it also sometimes I just don't do it. Because especially, like I was a football coach, I never did it. If they told me you had all these problems, I mean, I just, okay, thank you, and I'd go. But if I went in there and they said, hey, come back tomorrow, we've got this for you, that's going to be good, right? So
well, that was one of the benefits of the people in healthcare is that when they identify a problem that they can't handle in-house, they kind of step in almost as a concierge service that they go ahead and make those appointments, they do the follow-up, they get you in right away, and I'm like, well, that's a huge benefit, so you're not waiting as long, and then they take it back, so once they're done with that specialist, and there's no cost to visit the people in healthcare if you're part of that plan, so
you take you reduce the overall cost that we're paying currently if there was a model like that. You significantly reduce the amount of money that an employee pays. Right now, when you look at the way that we made an adjustment last year, our employees pay a larger percentage of what the overall spend in the healthcare is, right? This would significantly drop it down. Because now instead of them paying to go to that other doctor with that other copay with that other piece, now all of a sudden they're getting it inside the primary care and it's done. And it's being done quicker and faster.
In some cases, they have no copay and no payment for a prescription.
right, they offered over 300 different medications that they disperse right on the spot. So if you need an antibiotic because you have an ear infection, bam, right there, it's done and it's handled right away. And they guarantee the same day, next day appointments for emergency, which that was one of the other concerns that we have always heard.
For acute.
Right, so if you call and my child is sick and I need to, I'm sick, I need to be seen, they guarantee same day, next day. So you're not waiting because now it's summertime and everyone's doing biometrics and you got to be pushed out, a week or go see urgent care. You want to reduce that.
And just so I know, when did you guys set that appointment up?
So I actually initiated that appointment. So it came out of recommendation from the union. Actually, they talked to Orange County. And Orange County had been bragging about how they have this new system over here. It's so wonderful. And so Anthony had given me the contact information, and I reached out to an individual over there. And then when the appointment got set, I asked for Lena to make it available to all of us. Go ahead and advertise it, notice it, so that.
Just sent it out in June.
So it was we were coordinating
during the
schedules. So
board
it
meeting
happened
that
over the
text.
summer. He was out of town, I was out of town, whatever. So we made an appointment and then we advertised for it and went over the three of us.
I think our employees need to know that you guys are committed and that you guys were already moving in that direction. Like this was all stuff that you'd been investigating. I know Mr. Thomas, and Ms. Campbell was on there, Mr. Trent and Ms. Wright had all been to SIAC meetings last year, like saying, hey, you're throwing up your arms, getting
SIAC
frustrated.
meetings make you want to pull your hair out some days.
Right.
I'm not going to lie.
and I want to applaud you guys because I will tell you, and Ms. Campbell can agree with this, you guys are the most engaged on the healthcare front we've ever had a board. Ever, I promise you. And it's not because one of us was leading it. It was just that it was never there because Langdorf did a great job and everything else. So I applaud you guys for all being a part of it.
Well, I think it's one of those things where you hear enough people complain about it, you have to address it. So I'm not going to say that I'm a healthcare expert, 'cause I am not by any means. And this is your area, you do this, but we have to address it. So you have to become familiar.
No, I appreciate that. Improve timeliness and accessibility of care. Same thing as far as getting into those things. Reduce barriers to care and accelerate follow-up appointments. We talked about that. Increase in-clinic procedures to reduce referrals. We talked about that. That's all that block, right? So I don't need to talk about any things. Ms. Campbell, you had said earlier, I've tried for the last 8 years to try to get the county and the school board to come together on their healthcare plans. One of the issues, to be honest with you, is school boards across the state of Florida cost more than any other entity. It's because we work longer, right? So our employees stay 30, 40 years, whereas in other places we're highly female predominantly, right? So there's a lot of cost differences that make us. So what we do is instead of creating a pool with other schools or counties and stuff like that on our stuff, it's called a cost. You all go out to bid together, and it saves money based on the sheer volume of what you're doing, rather than tying all of your claims together. So I've tried to do that a couple of times. There was never ever any kind of like, I know Jerry Visco's a good friend of mine across the street. We got to lunch all the time. He ran their insurance for a while, but he's just like, we do great. I don't need to collaborate with you. What I'd like to do is create a county-wide insurance advisory group to collaborate with county and other cities twice a year on all of the benefits we do. If we move to this clinical model, we can increase the opportunity of other locations based upon other cities and county coming on board.
Well, and that's a good way to partner without feeling like they have
Yep.
to tie their plan to our plan, because you can have the clinics and other people can access the clinics besides our employees without us saying, now you have to have the same insurance that we have.
Yep.
It's completely separate.
Well, just so you guys know, one of the reasons that we cost a lot is because our employees use a lot of our stuff. So like our dental plan is running hot. It's like at 106% loss ratio. And the reason is our people go to the dentist, as opposed to other entities, cities and county government, they don't. It's just bizarre. So we do a good job. Anyways, I'd like to create this. And what that would do is I would like to have one board member from each one of them, and like the mayor or somebody that sits on there with their human resources or their benefits person, whoever's in charge of it, risk manager, and talk about what we're all doing so that we can line up. For instance, right now we only have 3 clinics, right? But each one of these cities has their own clinic. So why don't we talk about putting together something together, right? And also talk about all kinds of different contracts and stuff like that, innovative things. I would love to do. Does anybody have any heartburn with doing something like that?
No.
I think it'd be great, especially if we try to go with a group like People One Health, that we could get
Gives
other
us
people to jump in, be aware of it, and maybe we can increase the participation and get more facilities.
So self-insured, which we are, there's only a couple cities in the county that actually are that. Palm Bay, Titusville, Cocoa, Melbourne. Some of the smaller cities are not, but they could still utilize some of the things. So everybody getting together and understanding it, they could use this. So good job. All right, provide on-site care to control costs and improve efficiency. Implement industry recognized solutions for high-cost claims. Okay, so this is kind of code word for this. We identify the high-cost claimants. Our highest cost claimant right now is cancer. Why? Because we are not catching our cancers at stage 1. We're catching them at 3s, 4s, 5s. So what we did was Ryan Dufresne worked with staff and everybody else, and they found that Surgery Plus, also, whatever, Lantern, same companies, but also has another group that does the cancer. Very well respected. They have the state contract right now, very well, and what they do is a concierge just like they do for the other thing. So we carve that piece out, and now we bring in an industry that can perform those things for them. So like, as soon as you find out you have cancer, what they do is they monitor all of our claims. So what happens is if they see a trend, because when you go in and something happens, they immediately see it inside the system, and then they register and call that person. So you might find a mass, they already know it, they're gonna reach out and talk to them and say, hey, you have a mass. If you're looking at getting somebody to the next level, you can go there quick. And they have routes to every single group like Moffitt Center, MD Anderson, and all the other cancer places across the country. So it gets them to the best care for consultation and stuff like that. What happens now, we catch them with our screenings, we catch them at stage 1, and now all of a sudden we engage with the industry experts on that piece. That's what you do not only for cancer, but we do it for surgery, and we can start doing it for other things to reduce cost. But we could not effectively do it. Surgery Plus was just one of those things that got lucky because it was so good that they actually got off the ground. But some of our other ones aren't. But if we have that person at each school in a strong communications plan with emails and texts and everything else, we can do that. So that's what they're called carve-outs. Introduce low-cost, required preventative screening program. We talked about that. I want to talk a little bit, the reason I put that there. The medical associations across the country decided to increase, not decrease, the ages for screenings. Why, I don't know. It's you talk to any experts, People One Health, you talk to some of the greatest minds out in Dallas that I get to spend time with, all over the place. They're screaming across the country that this should not be industry norm. Like instead of having a female go in at 35 to get her mammogram, she's doing 40, right? So we have introduced low-cost preventative screening programs. We should bring in where we feel is comfortable with the industry experts of where those levels need to be. So meaning that if we're going to do colonoscopies and all that stuff, we do it at the right level, not at the current level that they're doing, which is a lot older, but we screen them lower and we catch them because women are starting to get breast cancer at lower ages. Men are starting to get colon cancer at a lower age, stuff like that. We need to catch it, right? Launch a comprehensive employee educational program. If you guys later on say we would like to do that, and we leave the industry experts to do it. Increase utilization and value. I'm sorry, this program does this thing, and it drove me nuts. I tried to straighten it, but it's crooked. It just gets me. Establish an annual SIAC healthcare strategy plan. So, currently, when we have SIAC meetings, we just go, what's the red flare? What's going on, right? Next one, what's the red flare? And that's been consistent forever. We need to put a comprehensive, almost like a SIP plan you have for a school, put together a healthcare plan. That in January, we will be doing X. In February, we will be doing Y. We will do this. We will have twice a year where we're engaged with new improvements. We'll identify these things. We just literally are going to each meeting and we were just, here's your claims, here's what it is, and then just talking about possible solutions. There was no plan. So establishing a SIAC healthcare strategy plan, implement a structured year-to-year planning process with the SIAC insurance committee, and this just means that when they meet, that there's a plan, right? Reintroduce industry expertise to the SIAC committee. That's through that meeting with the other insurance groups. Like you can bring in L3 Harris, Grumman, and some of those people to meet as part of that county-wide insurance group. And then that brings in the industry experts. That way, you're not bringing in the pharmacist, you're not bringing in those people, you're bringing in the other people that are dealing with healthcare plans. And you can call those people in for presentations, but not represented, because it gets pretty deep. Implement annual plan adjustments based on data and employee input. Okay. So one of the things we have never done is sent an email out saying, hey guys, what do you think about your healthcare plan and what's going on? We need feedback. We do that with everything. We do parent feedback, we do school feedback, we do student feedback. Everything's built on metrics. We don't do that here. So one of the things I'd asked at the end, and I asked for it in SIAC, but we didn't do it, was to develop a employee input survey that's run maybe twice a year that talks about where are we at, what are the things we can do to increase, do you like this, this and that. It might be a survey based on how do you like the new clinics or the marathon clinics, how do you like your healthcare plan, what's wrong with it, something. But we can actually get input from it, not just who calls and complains, but actually input across the board. Develop an ongoing employee satisfaction and feedback system so that we can do that, so we can take those inputs in. Then it feeds into a plan as far as when it goes into the healthcare SIAC meeting and everything else. I keep saying SIAC. We no longer have the SIAC.
I was gonna say we don't have SIAC.
We don't have SIAC, but it's a way for me to identify so you guys know. If I start saying, we have an insurance committee. It's the unions, the all kinds of groups, but it's not the formal we meet and go through it because it was just ineffective. All right. Launch a comprehensive employee education and advocacy program. We talked about that. So basically having a plan where we're communicating to our people the low-cost options that we develop. Is everybody good with that? Mm-hmm. All right. So that's pretty much it.
Can I just talk about the feedback?
Yep.
And I don't know, I would assume, Dr. Rendell reaches out to his principals and the teachers at the end of the semester and of the year, get a feedback for making, talk about how we're going to improve things for next year, next semester. Maybe that'd be a good time to get more participation other than people that are just unhappy about something. We might get a more fair assessment of what and find out that people don't know about Surgery Plus or Planer.
I think the idea today is we have the Marathon Health Clinics RFP or contract renews here soon, or doesn't renew, is up for bid. Are we going to go in a direction that we want to open it up for the People One Healths and stuff like that to bid for that? The other thing is, do we put in, are you guys willing to take those Cigna wellness dollars and have a true champion at each one? Are you guys willing to look at a true hardcore screening healthcare plan that our employees would have to go to in order to be low-cost options against that? Those are some of the direction that I think we should make to them. And I was up here to give you any answers to everything. There's a million other next levels. Like we don't provide buy-up term life for our members. So like there's options everywhere. So for instance, these are second level. Like right now we just talked about major issues. Second level is there's whole life plans out there for life insurance that are given that people can use as a bank account. It's incredible. But the only life insurance we truly have is the ones that you have for your annual pay, but you can't buy up to, $1 million or whatever, guaranteed issue and stuff like that. There's other things that we can offer our employees to make our healthcare plan good. There's discount pharmacy programs. There's all kinds of stuff that they can purchase on their own as volunteer that doesn't hurt. Those are some of the other second levels we'll get to. But right now, we just need to kind of talk about those main levels. So you guys okay with moving forward with developing a screening-based healthcare plan that is a healthy group and then a non-healthy group, and then if we have the clinics come in a clinical group, you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I guess I want to ask a couple questions just on this. So one of the things that I wanted to see with like the People One Health model was looking at our claims for the last 12 months. How many of those claims would have been captured into the People One Health model instead of going to urgent care, hospital, whatever. So we know what the dollar amount is that saves. And then the screening metric part of it, like, can we define what that is? Because I don't want everyone to hear like, wait a minute, now all of a sudden I got to go get 50 tests in order to get insurance. You know what I mean? That's going to freak out someone. So what are we talking about that's different than the biometric so that our people know and they're not like extremely concerned? I think after we went to the People One Health clinic, we were all, I think every one of us, my observation was every one of us was extremely impressed with that model. They have a physician on site. They have a pharmacy on site. They are able to do a lot of the screenings that most of our people are going to see their doctors for. That it would eliminate a lot of claims. So can we compare that claim data so we know what we're talking about as far as saving? And then Dr. Rendell, you had mentioned something to me yesterday, I'm assuming you probably mentioned it to everybody else, about looking at moving away from possibly exploring the idea of a consultant change to some degree when that time comes. And I was excited about that. So I would like for you to speak about that too to some degree so that the public is aware of just some things that could be.
Yeah, a couple different things. With People One Health, we would need to have a full presentation before the board for any decision on that. And that would include a cost analysis of what savings could have been captured in our recent claims or last 2 years worth of claims if we'd had a People One Health model in or some other model in. So that would be coming before the board before we did anything with that. We are exploring the option of a different broker. Our agreement with our current broker ends January 31st. So we have some other entities that we would consider, going into an agreement with. We may use the RFP process for that, or we may go on a bid, piggyback on another county's bid quote. So that's all those things are right in line with what Mr. Susan's presenting and trying to find more ways to not only just provide a better healthcare plan for our employees, but also make sure they know what parts of the plan we already have, and take advantage of the things we already have, but also make a better product. So
Surgery Plus significantly decreased the cost of our employees.
They were Surgery Plus when they started doing that, so I'll give him that one. But now we have to talk about his Lantern. I just don't want to be. We have enough problems with communication.
But yeah, the key is though is that there's a second level of conversation over what the consultant's role was in us getting where we are. There's a consultant. There's another level I'll talk to you guys about right now. I'll just bring it up. The data. When we go to make data requests, we got into it so much that I was seeing two different data. From BPS there was one data, from Lockton was another. And we found out Lockton didn't have all the numbers, and they were presenting in numbers, and BPS had the numbers, but they were lagged. What I'd like to do is create a data warehouse, and what that ends up doing is it puts all our data in one place for us to be able to evaluate and go through, which is consistent with what a lot of other groups do. But the issue that we have here is that, like when we were talking to this cancer group about coming on, it was Lantern or whatever, and they had to go out and pay Cigna like $36,000 a year so that they could get our claims, so that they could help us. And it's stuff like that if we had our own data center that we would be able to pull from. We're going to get a presentation on Thursday. That group, Fleet, is very good at all those things that we just talked about. They'll get into that second level. But as far as the major direction that you guys need to know about is where we need to go right now. And then once that happens, all that secondary stuff People One Health already had a presentation that they gave us a year ago. I mean, I think it's been actually 15 months ago.
Well, we were joking because we said we publicly noticed it, and we have a quorum here, so we can just go ahead and it's one of those things. But.
Sure.
So I just have a couple comments. One is, first of all, I don't want to finish this session without thanking you, because you've done a tremendous amount of work. You've actually spelled it out where Insurance for Dummies can understand it, and it is. I think you did a really an excellent job in presenting it.
Thank you.
And just so the public knows, I mean, you have no vested interest in this. This
No.
is your expertise. This is your profession, but you don't have a stake in this. You're not going to make one dime off of this. And so I just want to thank you for all you put into it. 'Cause that's
Thank you.
we could not have done it without you.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing is just on what goes, we're talking about doing the People One Health, which I was thoroughly impressed. I think we would be, as a group, be smart to open up for as an RFP, define that type of model, and see if they're the only, maybe they're the only one that puts in, maybe there'll be others, but at least we can see what's out there in the marketplace. And I love the idea about your feedback, creating the feedback, and the advisory group and things that help us continually improve. You know, so just doing something and then it goes on ice for the next, couple of years. This way we continually improve, continually getting feedback.
Yep.
I would just ask, I know Dr. Rendell already commented, but I would also like to give him a chance to comment, and Mr. Dufresne, is there anything they want to add?
Yeah.
And I don't think we have anybody from the union here. If they do, I'd love just to, I know that's not their decision, I'd just love to hear their feedback, but I don't think they're here today. But I'd love to hear
Dufresne, you got anything?
if you guys have anything to add to it, good or bad.
I mean, basically, what Mr. Susan shared is work we've been doing in concert with him, but Mr. Dufresne overseeing HR and benefits and everything, we've been kind of working on this for a while. So everything that he shared is stuff we've been working on. So it really wasn't anything.
I mean,
We have
I
all the
will-
boxes checked now, because everybody knows
I will
what's going
tell
on.
you, I will tell you for the last probably 9 months, Dufresne got involved. You guys realize that we no longer continued the contract of our benefits director, right? That was
Yeah.
one of the first things that Mr. Dufresne did when he realized some of the things that were going on. And then as we started moving through it, we were uncovering more and more. And it's a whole other conversation about that. Mr. Dufresne's been a great warrior for us through that process. He's been doing great through that, and he's delivered consistently for us, more so than a lot of other people that we've had his role have done. And Dr. Rendell gets a huge credit too for, exploring a lot of this stuff, because it's a headache, like you said. It's insurance for dummies, and it's a pain in the butt. And as soon as you engage in it, all these people come swarming in. Say, oh, this is wrong because of this, and this, and this, and this. It's real simple. In order to reduce cost, you just have to create better plans for your people and get them healthy.
The only thing I'm in full support of all those things those areas that you mentioned, just so we're giving consensus. The only thing I would like to see is, until that's implemented in 2027, that maybe some of those communication things that we can implement, whether the videos I suggested or getting a benefits person or whatever, so our faculty and staff know what we have now and they know how it's going to improve in the future, and there's a better understanding. We're going to create a baseline of understanding, because right now I think, based even what you said, and I've heard that in the community, that there's people that just don't understand what we have, what we have.
And it's not that we have this amazing plan and nobody knows about it. We have a good plan that needs to get better, and there are some things they can take care of. The People One Health and other primary care networks that they have about a 9 to 12 month build out.
Right.
So if people are listening to this and they say, well, why don't we just go to them tomorrow? Understand that they have to come into the community, they have to build their centers, and we would love to quickly, if the groups thinks that that's a model to go after, not even People One Health, let's have People One Health come in and do the presentation like Dr. Rendell said, but let's engage in our community, also the other people, because if we can get Palm Bay, Melbourne, and them to theoretically look at this as a model, then all of a sudden we'll be able to have more locations, because they base their participation and their build outs based upon how many. The one they did in Orange County, they did, I think, at 30%. They built 5 centers in Orange County, right? The 4 centers, they moved to a 5th. They came in offering that they would build 4, but if we were able to pull more people in, we'd get 5. We can do that. That's very easy if you create that group. So,
I think what they told us last week when he asked the numbers, he said, well, how many? I think they were aiming a little high, and I told him we had 11,000 people on the plan. He's like, well, that probably would be more like 3, but if we could partner with the
Right.
county, maybe they could come in with 4, and that's what Orange started with 4, and then they're actually opening 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Very soon, because they got to their number.
when I looked at their presentation a while ago, the numbers that they presented to us, and we should hold all of them accountable to those numbers even though we're here. The numbers they presented to us with the clinical offsites matched. So like their build out and our payments and stuff like that would match what Marathon has, but guess what? They promised a 1-to-1 guarantee. So even though we spend as much money as currently the healthcare clinical model is with Marathon, but they guarantee we will make those savings. So it's almost cost neutral.
They
But
did-
we'll
They,
get you
they
cost
did
neutral.
guarantee the.
And that's what we need. That's the big piece of these new ones, and that's why we need that presentation for them.
He
to go
actually
through.
said, he actually projected, he said they guarantee a dollar for dollar.
Yep.
But that he projected we'd have about a 30% savings overall. And one thing just to clarify, when they do facilities, it's at their cost, not
Right.
our cost.
Yep, and that's the other piece is that we built ours. We spent money to build out the mine. So the idea is do we want to move towards that kind of a model? It sounds like we have consensus.
Yes.
Hang, I
Yeah.
just, take a turn real quick. I just want to be on the record. I don't necessarily agree with how we got here because I
I
sat
figured
through
you would.
those and multiple benefits directors and have different views on the effectiveness of either one of them.
We've only had two since I've been on.
Right. Well, I'm trying to be general. And SIAC, the industry experts, and thank you for pointing out that there was reasons why
Yep.
that model was removed.
Yep.
So, however we got there, I think some of these things are things that got brought up, and it was hard to get SIAC to do anything, especially during bargaining session, because SIAC turned into a secondary bargaining time, right? And so there was lots of complaining rather than problem solving. So this Collier model, the 3-tier model, I have loved that ever since years ago that it was first mentioned with that. If you only want this much, okay, you're only going to pay this much, but you're only going to get this much benefit. I remember Paul even bringing up a county that he worked for that I'm not saying we go to this, but it wasn't just you get these screenings done, you get a lower model. It was if you hit these blood pressure points and blood sugar points. Was it Seminole?
Seminole County.
Seminole, not the school
Not the
district.
school, yeah, the counties.
Yeah.
Because they lowered the benchmarks every year. So
Right.
it's like this year it might be 190 over whatever. Next year it's 185 over whatever.
Right.
The next year, the third year of the rollout, it was 180.
Not
over.
saying we go there, but the screening
all
model
for it.
is more
Yep.
practical, a little more friendly because you don't have to hit certain benchmarks, but you just have to do that. So I love that idea of having another plan. The whole thing with gold and silver was to give people options
Yep.
that would keep it cheaper. And I know other districts have zero cost, but a lot of the districts have the zero cost insurance. They're bare bones, and we don't have a bare bones model. But some people only need bare bones.
Right.
Young, single,
Yeah.
no kids, healthy. I absolutely agree with my colleagues here about people wanting going out to that model and seeing what else is there, but to use that model for cost savings just because they can pull so much back in and provide a better product. I like the employee input. We have options to do that. Some with like Marathon does satisfaction reviews, and when we would get that, we could get that. Surgery Plus does satisfaction reviews. We can get that data because then we're getting it from the people who are engaging in those products, and so I think we should keep doing that and include that in our overall employee input because that's metrics that they keep and are accountable to us to report to. Love the partnerships with the counties and cities. That was one thing I really would like us to start with the county.
Yep.
On the idea of people wanting to say, if we decide we're going to go with people and whoever, let them know this is what we're doing. If you want to jump in with us, here's something,
Well-
we would love for you to partner with us on the front end so that we can give the best right up front. I would love that opportunity. And I would suggest that if we're going to do a work session where we present,
Right.
that we
Invite them.
include them
Sure.
to sit at least in the audience, if not in the panel of question
Yep.
askers. To jump in there and do that. The one big headache, hang up that I think will slow any of this down is that our insurance is in the contract. And I don't know, and I'm not going to be careful not to bargain outside of negotiation sessions, but we are held back. Now, we can implement things like Lantern, and we have, and I think we can even change the clinic model because that's not negotiated. But when we talk about having multiple plans and all of that, that always has to be negotiated. And the union may absolutely love this, but if they don't, then we're kind of stuck. We've got lots of time to a runway up if it's going to be implemented for 2027. We've got about a year to get that, but that is going to be a headache because our insurance plan is in the teacher contract. So guys, I bring up the details and the hurdles that we have to overcome, but that's a big one. It's not a small one.
If you can run through your list one more time, I have something I can say at the tail end of everyone just to add to it so that you wouldn't feel comfortable.
No, I love the idea of going to a 3-tiered plan. Love the idea of going to expanded clinic model.
Okay.
I didn't talk about the benefit leads at each location. Besides the fact of the required trainings, I think it would probably be good, and you mentioned it, to structure it based on size of site, because we also have like the transportation sites, which are very small.
Yep.
And so if you only have 40, 50, 80 people, or smaller, I guess transportation might have small, that it's a tiered approach, how many
Yep.
people you're accountable to communicate that with. I think that's probably much more fair.
You can almost do it by a certain number or something like that.
Sure.
The
Sure.
county did, when I met with Bisco and some of the other members over at the county, talked about the clinical model, they brought up People One Health to me because they had presented over there.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I asked the PBA and I asked the others, and I said, hey, did you guys have a meeting? And they said, absolutely, we love that.
Yeah.
So they are in favor of a model like that.
Yeah.
And I think that would work out. There was a couple other ones that you hit on that I didn't want to interrupt you as you ran through, but I wanted to give an update to. The union.
Mm.
So everything that we've done, Mr. Dufresne, up until, I don't know, what was it, like 3 weeks ago we had that meeting? They're on board. Everything that we've mentioned here, they know about and they're on board. So there should not be any wrinkles. There should not be anything. Should be good. I made sure of that through the work that we were doing, and give Mr. Dufresne a round of support for that moments that we were working with them on there, and that includes 1010. So Mr. Jones was inside the meeting also when we ran through a lot of these as ideas. So I think we're going to be okay there.
And one of the downsides of a tiered approach is we're still going to be getting some of the complaints that we're getting now.
Mm-hmm.
If people have decided to stay on the gold plan because they just adore Health First and they don't want to move away from Health First, so they don't want to go on the silver plan, and they are more high cost claimants, right? There are people who have serious health or specialty doctors that they need. They're likely to not be able to take the lower cost options. It's still going to be expensive for them, and so we just have to, as a board, recognize we're still going to get some of those, because for those people it's going to continue to cost more. I think we can provide as much, if we are saving our plan, our overall plan, which I want to remind for the people who are listening, is funded by all of us who pay insurance premiums, as well as the district who's paying insurance premiums. This is not some outside entity. We're paying for each other's health care. If we can save our overall plan money, then a couple years down the road we can reduce premiums, and we can give premium holidays or things like that. Then maybe we can save everybody, but some money in addition. So we're still going to have some of that pushback because of the people who have the most health issues are going to probably be on that higher cost
Part of the
plan.
reason that the healthcare, that the gold plan runs hot, is that a lot of people that have unhealthy, I think we exposed that inside the meeting,
Right.
that are making choices on their health care that are maybe in the middle part. They go to the gold plan because they have the health center down there and stuff like that. It's not a knock on Parrish, it just seems that that's the employee choice of what they do. So the people that are less healthy are choosing the gold plan, and that is part of the reason it costs. It's also a little bit more expensive. But I did want to tell you, Chris McAlpin from Parrish, who's their guru on medical plans and all that stuff, endorses all the communications. He actually sent me a huge overview of all of the communications plans. When I met with him, he gave it to me, and it's incredible what they want to do. So our industry partners from the healthcare side are ready to rock and roll. They love the movement, they love the screenings, they love all that stuff. Just as a reiteration, we will see an increase that first year. That doesn't mean that passes on to the teachers. That means that we will see an increase in cost because we're going to catch them. Collier saw an increase, and then for 7 years had zero increase because of what they did. So I think it's the good model. So if you guys are okay with staff developing a communications plan and presenting that to us, staff developing a plan we already have those on-site people. They're already here, they're just not getting paid. Or they get a small stipend and their role's not defined. So they have a benefits person at each school.
Most
It's usually
times
the
the
secretary.
secretary.
Yes,
And the
school
secretary, yeah, the secretary, but they don't have a true communications defined plan, and they're just answering random questions. So we can up that, right? And then move to our more robust communication or clinical model, I think, is our first round. And then that data warehouse and all that other stuff and everything else. The presentation that we're going to have on Thursday is by a group. We do not have, the problem we have, and let me just say this real quick, is that we have consultants who are tied to voluntary health care money that basically makes it difficult for us to silo each one of them. So when an RFP comes out, We found out that like the short-term disability contract is also tied to other contracts that they have, the Standard House. It's not illegal, it's not anything wrong, it's just what it is. This company will come in, run our RFPs, consult for us and do everything, and they do it very well. That's who's gonna present on Thursday. So the lack of industry knowledge that our staff has will be offset by them because they institutionalize those guardrails for each one of the industries to stay in line, and they act as kind of the overarch. It's a really good point. And there's the Fulton County just went with them and everything else. Any other
Nice.
questions? Did I beat a dead horse there at the end?
I just didn't forget to thank Dr. Rendell and Ryan Dufresne and his whole team.
Yeah.
Because through all the chatter and all the other issues that are going on, for you guys to focus on
Yeah.
this and help
And
you with this has been huge.
And I get to present, but they've been just as big partners in working on it as
Well,
me.
to that end, I want to give Mr. Dufresne an opportunity to speak. He needs to come up here though, because the microphone probably won't pick it
Right
up.
with that.
So there's
I
stuff
want to
you want to share.
recognize Mr. McAlpin, who's in the room. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't. I was looking
He's,
for you out here.
he snuck in behind you.
You want a second to talk since you drove all the way down here? After the friend? Yeah. Hang on just a second. Go ahead, Mr.
Oh, okay. First of all, thank you, board. I appreciate it. Some things I just wanted to touch on, reiterate. Like I said, like Mr. Susan said, Thursday the superintendent set up this meeting with Fleet. They can do a lot of the things that Mr. Susan presented, like they did the data warehouse, the community stuff. The way this program works is my understanding is they work with all the communities in the all educators, counties in the state. So when we're not just saying, hey, we want to price this out for Brevard. It's priced out for the everybody that's in this health trust. But I want him to speak to you guys on Thursday. So if you can make it, great. Also, I believe Paul Cancer Care will be ready to go by this
That's
next
huge.
board meeting.
I have the cancer care and the whatever that other one is.
Yeah.
They sent to me. I
The
should have
infusion
them
part?
Today. I should have them ready and reviewed today. So
Okay, so we hope to have that to the board this next board meeting.
That's going to save us $250,000, guaranteed.
That's another carve out.
Right.
service.
Right. No, Mr. Susan was speaking about it. I just want to let you know it's coming for vote this next board meeting. Also, right now our health plan is healthy, and like Mr. Susan said, like there's a chance this gets very costly if we move to a new model at the beginning. It's eventually going to save plans, but it's going to be costly at the beginning. That being said, I think you guys agree that probably no changes this year to the plan. We'll keep it healthy and see what happens when we do this. But I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
I would want an analysis before I say that.
Okay.
I will say that when I looked at the amount that the employees are paying towards the percentage that we pay, it increased, and I think that we need to look at those co-pays and stuff like that one last time before we make a final decision. I'd like to deep dive that for you guys, because I think that there's an opportunity with the revenue that we have coming in to adjust that. And I've been consistent with that since I saw it. I do.
That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Mr. McAlpin spent the time to put together, he used to do a lot of clinical meetings with us and stuff like that. He would go provide staff to do education on various things and stuff like that. He is also going to help us with our limits for the screenings and everything like that. He can get deeper into those things. But since he came all the way, and I told him if we had a question, I'd call him, but he was so interested in coming, I was going to give him the floor for a second. Mr. McAlpin, if you want to just stand up here and I'll be quiet. And just tell us what you got.
Okay, and I will leave these copies with you. Basically, it's a structured outline. There. I've got one or two. That lays out how we can work with you to better organize preventive health and chronic management amongst the folks that you're employing, and it lays all that out. Right now, we have the same structure in place with the International Association of Machinists and the AFL-CIO out at the Cape, and that has been in place for 7 years at this point. And their average increase for premium over that time frame per year has been 3%. When before it was 15, before this was instituted. So we meet with them and go over claims together, along with drug utilization, and look at specific opportunities to improve. And we do that. We used to do it every single month, but they have gotten to a point in the structure and in their own momentum where it's not necessary now to meet every month. We meet every other month, and sometimes we will meet quarterly, just depending on what's out there. But we're going over this information literally on a constant basis and making sure that everybody understands what they're looking at, up to and including issues of plan design. So when we've picked up that people were overutilizing urgent care centers, the union actually made the recommendation to management that the out-of-pocket be raised from $25 to $35 every time somebody went to an urgent care center. The urgent care center utilization came down and actually came back into line as a result. But they also went from 10% people having a PCP relationship to 90%. And that happened within 1.5 years.
Mr. McKelvin,
Engagement went from 10%.
Can you tell them what a PCP is?
I'm sorry, primary care doctor. So
If you didn't know.
basically, what folks are enforcing amongst the rank and file of members is that people will go to their primary care doctor for their care and do their annual wellness checks, physicals, those kinds of things, versus I don't have that relationship and I just go when it's convenient to me to an urgent care center, which is it comes as a higher cost to the plan. The other key piece too is making sure that people, if they're on medication, are they being faithful to what that medication regimen is? And are they getting their refills in a timely fashion? Those kinds of things. So it has worked very, very well. And the other part too is that for certain screenings, I've put together the age guidelines for different screenings for both cancer and colon care, those kinds of things, so that you can see since the last time I looked at the data, which is several years ago, I think our average age here was 47 to 49. We have the state's oldest teachers here in Brevard, and still do. So at this point, when you look at these types of guidelines, it makes much more sense because of who is employed here, and what their health care needs and what their plan of care should be.
Very nice.
So when you talk about those clinics, they only make up a small percentage of the actual overall health care. This is the other side of that, where he manages tremendously. I contacted that union. They love this guy because Mr. McAlpin does such a good job with them about managing their care, and he's tried to work inside of our groups and stuff like that, and now is willing to do that more. And that's the same for Health First. And you guys are all getting along.
Yeah.
So there's no remember how there's these old fights between the two. They're best friends now, which is crazy, but we really appreciate you guys.
So I wanted to add and make the board aware as well, when Cigna was having an issue with our renewal of the contract, I don't know if you guys remember that, he was a big help in helping us get that settled, worked very closely with us, make sure there's no interruption to service. He did a great job. I want to thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you. If you'll leave that, we'll have Miss our admin assistant will take care of it. Mr. McAlpin, thank you so much.
Sure.
And are you willing to answer any questions that the
Sure.
school board members have? If you guys have any questions, but then also I'll send his phone number to you guys, so if you guys want to just reach out to him.
No, I appreciate you coming out. I
Yeah, thank
actually
you.
do.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
good.
Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks.
Get all this off. Sorry about taking it forever.
No, that's fine. Board, what do you think before we move on to the public records request? We take a short break, 5 minutes or so?
Sure, please.
Okay, good. All right, welcome back. All right, so next on the agenda, we have the public records process update from Mr. Gibbs.
It's not so much public records process, just reminders for everybody as we head back into a new school year. You've probably seen this form that's in your package before. You'll probably see it again if you attend the ethics training that we're trying to bring Amy back to this fall. So she usually goes over this, and we've gone over it in the past. There are more do's and don'ts for when you receive public records requests, just as reminders. There seems to be a lot of public records requests going around right now, so I wanted to provide an update on what you should do. Under the statutes, you're not allowed to say you need to go over here. So any of our staff are subject to public records requests. This was a big thing several years ago before they made changes to the law, where people would go find the person mowing the lawns and say, hey, I'm making a public records request. And they'd give them a public records request. They didn't know what to do with it. They'd just lose it. They never turned it in. then they get sued. They make public records request to this lawn guy out front on this date and time, and nothing ever happened. You're now unreasonably late. Nobody knew about the public records request. So now they have the notice provisions built into there to try and warn people, so you get your notice, and then everybody scrambles. I got this notice that this was turned in. What happened? Where was it? When did it get turned in? And they tracked down what happened, and they had to turn the records over. That helps prevent lawsuits from getting filed and the records get to where they need to go. So I've provided you like the form, do's and don'ts, acknowledge the public records request when it's made. You can inform the person making the records request that, hey, I'm not the records custodian. Identify the records custodian as far as who that is. I've provided our current records custodian. She's relatively new, Casey Picaro. If you haven't had a chance to meet with her yet, her email's also in here and her phone number.
Hang on, Paul. Where was that?
It should be in your materials.
Oh, like in this?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Paul, can I ask a
there
quick
it is.
question?
Yeah.
The records request, like the instance that you just gave with the lawn maintenance person,
Yeah.
that would only apply to an employee of BPS. So if they were a contractor, then they would not.
Contractors have separate, they could be implicated in public records as
Okay.
well, so it's possible. Ideally, they turn that over to the school, say,
Okay.
hey, some person walked up and gave
Well,
me this.
just from a district's liability standpoint and making sure we don't have ambulance changers that are gonna try to get lawsuits against us, are we educating our contractors of
It's in our contracts. It says, if you have any
Okay.
questions, you're supposed to reach out to our public records person, and
Okay.
it lists, the email and the phone number that you can reach her at.
Right.
So if they have questions about their public records obligations, they're supposed to reach out per our contracts.
Okay, probably wanna refresh them on that. I'm not sure if they would remember that, a lawn
Yep.
maintenance person, so.
I mean, and the statute change where they have to give us the pre-suit notice helps, but then we're scrambling at the last minute within that notice period.
Trying to figure
before
out what-
suit,
where it was at, yeah.
to get all that gathered up.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yep. So, if the person that's making a request doesn't want to identify themselves, they don't have to.
Right.
So if somebody comes up to you at a board meeting, says, hey, I want all this information you were talking about, and say, all right, they don't have to leave their name. You don't get to
Right.
ask them why they want the records. If they're public, they get produced. All right, that's the only question. And that's not necessarily for everybody to decide. Again, it goes forward to our designated public records custodian for the district. She'll make all those decisions. So don't promise anything, say thank you. All right, you're requesting these records. You can reach out to this person. You can provide their contact information. If they want to leave contact information, they're free to do so. I've also provided you example responses if you get emails. And if you want to do it, you're probably not going to remember these off the cuff. So if it's after a board meeting, you'll be like, hey, thank you. If you have something to write on, you'll probably want to write down exactly what it is they're asking for. Because it's like, hey, wait a minute, let me get something, jot this down so that I'm sure that I'm translating what it is you're asking for to our actual records custodian person. That way they get what they are requesting. And then if they want to follow up, like when the person calls, if there's charges or something, and they don't, and they want to make it anonymous, they're going to have to call, all right, because we don't have any contact information. So they would reach out to Casey. Casey would say, all right, yeah, I got that from, Mrs. Campbell on Wednesday after the board meeting. She turned it in. You've got a $50 charge that you need to pay before I'm going to put that together for you. So if that's what happens, that's what happens. If it takes them 10 days to get back to the records custodian person to check on the status, that's going to slow down their public records as far as how that process will go. But from receiving it side, don't ask why they want the records. If they want to leave anonymous, they can have an anonymous request. If they don't want to make it in writing, they don't have to. Right? There's no formal form they have to fill out. There's no formal format that it needs to be made in. They don't have to bullet their request. They can just walk up, lay out a whole bunch of stuff that they want, and that's a public records request.
Can I ask
Yep.
a clarifying question? All right, if they want to make that anonymous public records request, are we allowed, how are we to get that record to them? If they're like, they just come
Yeah.
up to me and say, I would like blah, blah, blah.
Yep, you would provide Casey's information and say, hey, I'm going to turn this in. Say it's student data, or not student, school
Okay.
data for the grade. That's what they want. All right, say, all right, fine, I'm gonna turn this into Casey as student data request from June 30th,
Okay.
2025. So you know what to ask for, all right? That's what I'm gonna turn it in. So you turn that into Casey, you give them Casey's contact information. Casey, they call Casey 10 days later, hey, I'm calling up about the student, or the school grade data that I requested from Ms. Wright
Okay.
on June 30th.
Is
Okay,
it possible
here
to
it is.
get like cards or something that has Casey's information on it so that we are able to give that to the person making the request too, just so that they know that's who's going to respond to the
Yeah,
request?
I think she has cards, we can check on that.
Okay.
And
I just
also
think
her email address is
Public records at
yeah, right.
vardaschools.org. Yeah, and her extension and everything's on here. It's 11453 if you're coming from a district.
Mhm.
If not, it's 321-633-1000, extension 11453.
Okay. All right. Just thinking of, yeah, might make it easier.
Yep. I'll check on the cards. And the time for public records is reasonable, so if they say I want it in 20 days, 30 days, you can remind them, hey, there is no set timeline. We do get those where, especially from attorneys that call and say, hey, I've got a case, I need it in 30 days. Sorry, that's not the public records law. We are not obligated to get you anything. You want something on a time certain, you issue a subpoena. So, and that's usually how they get their records faster if there's a lawsuit pending. They issue their subpoena. So they don't promise them anything, just say, I'm gonna turn it over to the public records, and then Casey will take care of informing them that we are not on a time frame for this. It's reasonable. If you ask for 5 bankers' boxes of documents, it's gonna take you longer to get that than it is the person that asked for, a email, one single email from a certain date and time. So that's easily identified. They go, they get it, they print it, and they can get it off. They are processed in the order received, so if Casey's 30 emails behind or requests behind, if they've made their request through her email, it may take her a few days to get to that email. So depending on when they come in, so that helps delay the process. As just an update on that, we are next week, you will have the job description for the assistant public records person on there, which will allow us to then advertise for a second person, which will hopefully speed up the entire public records process for the district. And our goal is to have them all out well within the 30-day window, but there will always be those exceptions, like for lots of documents, and we rely on other departments, so depending on the other department's caseload and workload, like ET's heavily involved with public records, if they're a few requests behind because they only have limited resources as well and getting all that stuff sifted through, it could slow that process down some. We do charge for requests, so copies, again, not necessarily something you have to get into, it's just for your information. We charge 15 cents per copy, and any extensive amount of staff time gets charged. That is anything over 15 minutes time from our staff, we charge for that staff time. So Casey's time and having to go through a banker's box of documents to redact out information that is confidential, that's getting charged to the people. And we estimate that they have to pay the deposit up front before she's gonna go through and do that work. So that's all how that will go down. If ET is heavily involved, we can charge for their time. If we have other staff, it's charged at the lowest employees rate that can do the work.
How is a charge disputed? If somebody's getting...
They email Casey, we get those all the time, like, hey, I saw this charge, I think this is unreasonable, and she walks through, like, this is what it is, I've got X number of pages I gotta go through. And
If they still disagree, but they still want the record, how's...
They're gonna have to pay a deposit, or they can file a lawsuit.
nobody ever thinks that the stuff they're requesting needs to be redacted, but we don't know if it has to be redacted until they start looking.
Right, they gotta go through all this stuff, so I mean, if they're asking for school stuff, they could have student names on it. We get requests for bullying packets, which, often isn't a public record. People confuse public records and education records. If it's an education record, it is not a public record. It's already exempt under statute and law.
Okay.
And if there's ever any questions, you can call Casey or legal. Casey's now housed under legal, so if there's questions as to that, you can call us. We'll help answer questions. She is a direct report of Mary Jo in my office, and I oversee the whole operation overall.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for adding the assistant
Yep,
position,
and,
yes,
Dr.
the,
Rendell, too.
Yeah, the last page and a half, I did give you example language, so I can send this to you digitally, so you
Yes,
can
please.
save it and cut and paste if you get emails and stuff, and you know how to do it.
I
You can
appreciate it.
adapt the responses to whatever situation it was.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Any questions?
And Lena, will you keep mine in here somewhere?
It's attached to the agenda too.
Okay, I know, but just leave
All right.
mine in my folder somewhere. And then I will like the digital
Just
copy.
a
too.
quick update, we are working on the yearlies for last year. It's not gonna change significantly, but some of the big highlights, policies, last year, 158, so pretty good.
What did we do the year before?
271 when
Yeah.
we did all
That-
the books. So we
Yeah,
did
that's
all
not
the books.
normal.
right.
So-
That was the record
But
year.
having just done all of them at 271 the year before, we still had 158 that got processed last year. That's pretty heavy.
That is the most active board ever.
So we did a lot there.
It literally is.
We had, let's see, we did in-house litigation again last year, another small claims case. 7 expulsion issues dealt with over the last year. 59 garnishments, so our employees are getting garnished at a higher rate. It was 47 the year before, so.
Don't tell us that, because you know me, I'm gonna try to get rid of that.
Okay.
It is something to do there. We had 10 new litigations over the last year. 35 custody cases had to be researched over the last year. That's up from the year before as well. So we're getting more and more involved, and the parents seem to be more litigious with each other and dragging the schools into it. I'm briefing principals and teachers all the time on how to testify in court because they're getting subpoenaed at higher rates. I've had to challenge a few attorneys on their subpoenas because they're subpoenaing with like 2 days notice before hearing. They're subpoenaing during testing windows, and I'm like, we're not doing it. I'm not sending, I can't, like one school had like 5 teachers get subpoenaed during the testing window, and it's like, I can't have 5 teachers out of the school during that window. And they backed off, but without having to file anything. So they are working with that to some degree, but they are also subpoenaing our people more and more. So there's something to be aware of. If it gets too out of hand, we'll probably have to change tactics a little bit.
What kind of cases generally are they?
It's usually mom and dad fighting.
Oh,
They're
custody.
divorced parents, and
Mm.
they're just wanting to come in, and they want the teachers and the principals to come in and say, this is the better school, or mom's a bad parent, you know, because mom gets the kid late 5 minutes every day. And they're just like, they're dragging us into these, and they're like, I can't say that, and we tell them, you are not to say anybody's a
Right.
bad parent. You don't know if mom or dad's a bad parent unless you actually know them and have a relationship outside of the school environment. They're like, usually the answer is no. So yeah, but they're all like, I never thought I'd be going to court, but they
Wasn't
call.
in the job description, right? I mean-
Yep, that's something that is getting more and more prevalent for our schools.
Well, okay.
Got any questions? That's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul, on that.
Just a reminder
yeah.
before Paul leaves, his evaluation's coming up, right? So
August 12th?
August, yes.
Okay.
You guys all have the tool and everything?
Yes.
I can
Um,
resend the links if you need them.
Yeah.
That would be good. And would you send, are we gonna put a deadline so that?
I did, in the original email I sent with them, we did set a deadline, but that was before, I think, we had.
Cindy,
the
it's
Before
gonna,
we
it's
set the
gonna be a
August
little bit.
12th.
We're gonna do something first.
So let me go ahead and resend
Let's-
one out after the meeting today with the links and what do you wanna make the hard set?
August 1st,
Tuesday.
is that good? So that they can collate it? Is that, I don't know, is that a weekday? What day? That's next week.
It's a week from Friday.
A week from Friday.
That's doable, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
August 1st?
Sure.
And if you don't, Lena will chase you down.
Yeah.
Try not to be on that
And just
list.
as a quick housekeeping, well, before I forget to mention it, I'd asked Lena to put our leadership packet in diligence, so we had everything in one place. 'Cause we
Yeah.
had the agenda and everything.
Yeah.
So at Monday, what'd you say, 1 o'clock? On Mondays after 1 o'clock?
At least
it'll be-
give me till 1 in case it gets released late in the morning, that I have time to download all the documents.
So, well, anyway, it'll all be, everything will be in one place, so we don't.
And it's there right now, so if
Yes.
you do have your computer and you wanna sign on to Diligent, you just go to the icon that looks like 3 books and hit internal, and it will have all the LTP. There will be, the folder will be titled the date it's released.
Thank you.
And one more piece of housekeeping, Neola released their updates from the legislative session.
All done.
There's
More
over
policy.
50 in there. It looks like we're gonna have over 30 going. Do you want them on regular board agendas? Do you want me to split them and bring them on a regular agenda? Do you want a special set, a policy only?
I'd
Like
say we
off
skip
Tuesday
it.
weekend.
Get 'em done. We've done 30, we've done 50 at a time.
Can we just?
We,
Come
we
on.
special set some of the large ones. We
was gonna
just
say
had
depends on-
policies on special meetings where we've done that.
Get all the cleanup ones, just get them in and out, and then we'll just.
Yeah, so I don't
single
know
them.
what the prerogative is.
I mean, our meetings, we don't do anything at those meetings.
We can do it. We can do off
We
Tuesdays
did,
if you
we
want.
did cancel, if we're gonna cancel the one for the 29th, we'll just have the two in August, but can we just prioritize, and the ones
We
that
need
like
to
we gotta go
prioritize.
right now, do that wave first, and then the other ones maybe the next time?
It's
Just put
really
'em all
on
in one and
staff
let's roll.
how they come in. But
Just-
staff
14
are
hours.
identifying, we gave them until the end of the day tomorrow to identify who's bringing what policy, so we can start the ad. But
Okay.
I needed to know if you wanted them all, if you want me to split them, like one cycle and then the next meeting, another cycle.
Yeah.
So there's
So
15.
Paul, just so I
Just
know, these are all statutory laws that passed, so we're.
Yeah, there are
cleaning-
changes to policy based on the legislative session. Some of them may be optional, we don't have to, like the wireless communication, it was only gonna require K-8 be banned. You guys have
Right, we're already
already
doing
went
that.
K-12, so that's already in the process,
Mhm.
so that one won't be coming.
Yeah,
That's already.
pre-K too, right?
Pre-K what?
Let's just
For
be
cell
honest.
phones, I hope pre-K kids aren't
Gosh.
using cell phones.
That's a valid point, though. I mean,
But you walk in that campus.
they're like, we're VPK, we can have this phone. You're like, whoa.
You never know. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
So,
My
I
vote would
don't
be
know.
to split.
I would just say let's roll it all, but then I always get voted out, so.
Wow.
Like, I was just saying, let's just do a
one
10-hour.
It just depends on the nature of the policy. Some
'Cause if
policies
we
end
have
up
to
taking a
hammer
lot of
stuff out,
discussion
yeah.
and we change gears multiple times on it, so.
Yeah, I think if you give us the direction to divide them into 2 packets and we determine which packet needs to go first, then we go.
Sure, that's fine, we can do that too.
yeah,
All right,
Let's do that.
Okay.
thank you.
all right.
Mr. Chair, can I take a second real quick?
Right, so just for clarity here, because Cindy was coming up here. We wanted to go over the working guidelines. That really was, probably should have been up with the member matters.
Oh, but actually, they don't have to stick around for that, so maybe, isn't that what Dr. Rendell asked for us to do the budget presentation first?
Yeah, 'cause
How are we?
It depends on how long you think you're gonna go with this. Like, if you think you're gonna go with this for a while,
If we're
then-
gonna,
I mean,
Well, while you think about that, if I could run.
all right,
a couple of
Matt
things.
wanted to bring up a couple extra things,
So
and
it-
then we'll make the decision.
I forgot to
That's a
ask,
good
is it
idea.
okay if I work with communications on developing this is what we're doing kind of thing, so you can copy and paste it for all the members that reach out to you and say, hey, healthcare is an issue? Show some of these things with Janet, is that okay with you guys?
is it a little early to jump in?
well, I think just Matt's asking if you can have like a boilerplate response when people say, oh, our healthcare is this, or our healthcare is that. That you each have a boilerplate response saying, hey, we're working on this here, you know.
Yeah.
This is what we did at our workshop, just overview, I'm not saying we're like,
Right,
but
you
just.
have
Here's the things we
Just,
discussed.
these are the
this is what we're
things that
gonna
we've
do.
done,
Yeah.
this is the direction we're going in and stuff like that, if that's okay.
I think it'd be great.
And then I forgot earlier when we were running through it, I was focused on the healthcare piece. It's been my baby for a while, but we had spoken about the sports and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Dr. Rendell and I had been talking about the next level. We're not allowed to do, I'm not allowed to bring any more sports to the group. I'm not allowed to do that. But there's a couple of things like, you may see like AAU putting together golf competitions. You might see, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like just these various things, just so there's no headaches. It's not the district staff, it's not any of that stuff. But the one thing that I wanted to let you know is that the race car stuff got so big, that like all of your automotive, like auto sales companies like Lexus and Chevy and Ford and all that stuff want to create it. So I'm going to create a race board, and it's going to be outside it's not district staff, it's not anything, but it'll be go-karts, midget racing, stock car racing, and then the newest one, which I think is the coolest one, which is RC cars. That thing tied to our STEM is incredible. So just in case you see it, it doesn't have anything to do with our staff. It just has to do with operations of kids, giving them opportunities through the community of resources outside. If they want to say they're racing for, Williams Elementary or something like that, it's fine, but we're not engaging with it. It's not inside of our schools, if that makes sense. Is that okay? So if you guys see it, I just wanted to let you know. And then,
Are you saying like a club or something? Is that what you're kind of referring to? Like
Yeah.
they're gonna set up a
Just
club,
club.
of
Yeah.
some sort?
just a club, like they're just going to say if you guys are interested in doing RC racing and you guys
It's
want
kind
to.
of like when they have the 5Ks and schools do
That's it.
teams, you register as part of a school.
Mhm.
You're not actually
Yeah.
a required activity, it's just, you're identifying
Yeah.
yourself with a school.
It's a way of me getting my sports without having to officially get my sports. So just so you guys know. And then
Found a workaround is what you're
and
saying.
then I wanted to let you know, I wanted to give a shout out to Paul because he worked on our logos. They're moving forward with a plan. You guys should see that pretty quickly as far as we're gonna be able to start holding, you know what I mean, having them trademarked and stuff like that. And then I'm going to start working on, one of the things I wanna do is clean up our retirement plans. We have like 32 retirement plans out there, and we don't have a very good bolstered plan for our people. That's the 401ks, 403bs, stuff like that, that's outside of our normal retirement. But many other districts have moved to a different model, and I'd just like to sort of start working on it. So if you hear about it, that's all it is. All right?
Okay.
That's it.
That sounds good.
And then you got your other stuff.
So, we know what we need to take care of here and go through, but at the same time, yeah, I'm okay with, if we're all right with Ms. Lisinski coming up and take care of that, maybe we hit this last.
Yeah.
And then that'll dictate how
party.
much time we can really spend on it.
True.
Yeah, take care of what we need to get done first, so
All right,
Ms.
so
Lisinski,
Cindy, you are up.
It's yours.
Poor Cindy's gotten up and back a couple of times now.
Get some steps in, yeah. You just been sitting.
And I'm gonna steal a little bit of Cindy's thunder, set the stage a little bit. So she's gonna present, the PowerPoint presentation that she will present next week at the public hearing on the budget and the business meeting. A lot of the slides are the standard slides where we talk about how, taxes are assessed and the tax rate, how it's set and that kind of thing, and then a little bit of our history of tax assessments overall on the last 5, 10 years. I'm not sure how far back she goes. And then, you know, the tentative millage rates, well, not tentative, but the millage rates for this year and all that kind of stuff. The required local effort, all that good stuff will be in the presentation. When we do get to the, one of the slides towards the end where it actually has the dollar amounts, we don't have those filled in yet. We made some changes and some decisions in cabinet yesterday that affected those numbers, so we're gonna give you everything we know today.
Okay.
Cindy,
And
did
as
you
soon
want
as
me
we
to
can-
hand these out?
As soon as we can fill in the rest of it, we'll fill in the rest of it.
Oh, no.
Still no word from the state or feds, huh?
Well,
Not on
actually-
the money that's still being,
So the 21st, we
What's
heard
that?
that the 21st Century Grant was supposed to be released
Right.
yesterday. That's been confirmed, but have
It's
we gotten
inside It's inside the presenter.
have we gotten the, fourth calc yet? Since last
No.
week? Okay.
yeah, so again, some of the levers that are used to
Plug that into her computer.
put all these numbers together, we still don't have,
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
You pull it out.
Pull it out.
We're getting updates from like FSBA or anything, but if you guys get any news that things are dropping, if you've been sending us stuff, but
Yeah, we haven't heard anything else on the other funds.
with the 21st Century Grant, the child care, that.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was,
The fourth calc, that's huge, and that's,
that's where we see how we can, for this year, we just finished.
Okay. So this is, the slides are gonna be almost identical, if not identical, for the public hearing on next Tuesday. And I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of an update and where we are on getting this done. Currently, we still have several gaps of information, both on the state and the federal level, that would normally have had at this time, that would require districts across the state to plug in their best assumptions and footnote uncertainty. That said, we have until the final hearing, September 4th, actually it's September 9th, to adjust and make any trade-offs that you guys want us to do once we get better numbers. The Florida school districts experienced multiple reductions to anticipated FEFP revenues in FY 24-25, largely due to the rapid expansion of family empowerment scholarships. The Florida Department of Education has created a rigorous system of controls and checks on reporting of students by district and charter schools. Yet the control system for granting scholarships and following the student funding has been flawed, causing increasing inequity between the traditional schools and the scholarship funding. Because of the breakdown in accuracy reporting, FES enrollment the districts received the third calc several months late and an unexpected proration and has yet to receive the fourth calculation. The fourth calculation, normally we receive that in April and May, and and that gives us actual student enrollment data for October and February to determine, where we are. And it's key in order to build next year's budget. It really is. And that said, a school district starting budget balance also is important, and local funding, property taxes, federal grant funds, and the federal grants is still uncertain. So we have a lot of uncertainties, and I didn't want to, and we'll have it on the 29th, but I didn't want to put up numbers that may change even from now to the 29th, if that makes sense for the funds. But we're very close, and it's challenging. I never thought I'd have to say budget with plug-in assumptions and asterisk uncertainty. I mean, that's crazy, I think. But
Cindy, before you ask the next
Sure.
slide, you might ask that the next time you put an A-rated school district, if we could put that in the upper left-hand corner, very large. Very
Oh,
large. See
I
that
sure
open
can.
area in the upper left-hand corner? I think
The
that'd
white,
be a
that's,
screening.
I
nice
think
light background.
72 size font.
Fluorescent.
Okay.
Matching the star color would be perfect across the top, maybe an orange
Put it in
outline.
lights.
There we go.
Flashing
neon
lights.
Flashing would be good too. Flashing. Just wanted to make that recommendation.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
I'm-
I like
Why don't you
it.
wear a headband?
We should make hats.
We should make hats. Make Brevard A again.
Okay. And then, so this will be the agenda for the 29th, and this is one of my favorite pictures that I came across.
Aw.
Very nice. Dr. Rendell, what we got going on there?
We're listening to the ocean.
Seashells.
Seashells.
Just want to make sure our budget cuts were for our radios.
Yeah, cell phone.
Testing.
No cell phones,
Is
just
that
seashells.
considered a cell
Seashells
phone?
and string. So,
Yeah, much better than cell phones.
Yeah.
And then the next couple slides are their their definitions. First, the truth and millage and what that is, and the truth and millage legislation requirements are detailed under Florida statutes. Trim timelines are very prescriptive in law, and the clock started July 1st. The total timeline to budget adoption is 80 days. The statute dictates the order of the business during the budget hearings, and Trim requires 2 public hearings for open discussion of the millage rates and the proposed budgets of all taxing authorities. And then we go into the definition of what a mill is. And then we talk about the FEFP, the Florida Education Finance Program, and it is the mechanism which the state and local operating funds are allocated to the Florida school districts. The Florida legislature sets the required local effort millage rates. This is done through the FEFP second calc, which we did receive on the 18th. And that calculation gives us the receipt, the tax roll certified by the Florida Department of Revenue, and this calculation replaces the estimated tax roll from the conference report. The school board must levy the required local effort millage rates in order to receive the state funding or the local funding of the program. And so the total proposed millage related to school funding for FY26 school year totals 6.31 mils. This millage rate will generate revenue for the general operating and the capital outlay funds. The required local effort rate adjusts year to year, while the discretionary and local capital remain fixed. The voting operating millage is an additional 1 mil that our voters voted for on November 8th, 2022. And when you compare the actual FY25 total millage rate to the proposed, you can see that there is a decrease of 0.001 mils. And then you can see this graphically. And then you can see the RLE rates, they go down each year as our property values increase.
So this slide is actually really beneficial when you're speaking to community groups about the need for the additional property tax millage. As the green at the top is the extra 1 mil, and you see that the dark blue line decreases every year since 16. So even with the 1 mil added, we're still below the tax rate as far back as 2018.
And if you showed it every 5 years, you'd get back into where.
Yeah,
that was way
actually.
Yeah, it's even bigger.
Yeah, back to FY13.
This is the smallest decrease the state has had in forever, because I've looked back into like the early 2000s, and it tells me the state knew that they were gonna need the funding. They couldn't drop it to very much.
Well, I think the way it's always been explained to me is that the RLE is calculated on what do you need, what rate do you need to levy to get the same funding that you got this year.
Right.
So it also means property values did not increase as
Right.
quickly as they had.
Stabilizing.
Right, that's why there's a major decrease.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rollback rate. As required by TRIM, we must compare the proposed millage rate to the rollback rate. When property values rise, property taxes generate more revenue. For the total revenue generated to stay the same as the prior year, the tax rate must decrease. The rollback rate is the rate that would generate the same amount of revenue as last year if applied to the current year's taxable value. Said another way, the state rolls back the millage rate as property values increase to bring the total taxable dollars available roughly equivalent to the prior year. Under TRIM, the rollback rate is the basis for determining if the tax rates have increased or decreased. When the rollback rate is less than the proposed millage rates that we receive from the state, we must advertise a tax increase. For Brevard Public Schools, the proposed millage rate is higher than the rollback rate. The notice of proposed tax increase will be advertised on the district website for the Tuesday, July 29th meeting. And then you can see here the tax roll and the growth. So 2021 was pre-COVID. And then you can see 22, 23 just, I don't think we'll get double digits like that
No.
anytime soon.
Yeah, but this is not money in, this is
No, this
property
is tax.
values.
Yeah, the tax value on the
This is
property,
the
just meaning our real
property
estate market's been
values.
exceptionally good and it's been growing, which is why you see.
But this,
Yeah, but the increase is starting to level off. Yeah.
And then, so this slide lays out the funding and the total projected tax levies, the required local effort. You can see 3.062 mils is what the second calc provided to us. And that altogether, that brings in about $234.7 million, and that's our local operating dollars, a majority of it. And then you also have the discretionary local effort, which is that 0.748 mils, and that is going to bring in about 57.3 million again for the operating side, and it's the local side. But for districts that are below property value average, they get a compression supplement which is part of the state funding. And you can see right there, in order to reach average rate, we'll receive an additional $13.159 million. Now, before the second calc, they adjusted it slightly, and our compression was higher, but because we went up on one side, then they decreased the compression. So, and then you also, on the far end, you'll see the local capital improvement, and altogether it's about $115 million that we will levy. This is with the revenue of a 96% collection rate. Debt service, off the top, it's less than it was before with some of the refinancing that we did, so that's good. The LCI maintenance, that is higher than we have done in the past. We are trying to transfer every dollar that we can from capital to operating that is available, and we were going to still go back and look at this number just to make sure that it's correct, and have to sit down with Sue. That's another reason I'm hesitant to give all the funding numbers. One of the things that we are going to do is transfer bus drivers, and working with Ms. Han, part of the dollars for bus drivers next year will come from prior year dollars on capital side, and then about 2.694 from this 26 money that's coming in. Something that we're not crazy about doing, but something I believe that we need to do in either to be able to get through next year, and at the same time figure out how we're going to downsize and still be able to provide all the things that we want to do for our kids.
Cindy, I just want to go on the record and say I'm not a fan of that plan. I don't think that our bus drivers should be funded out of capital. Capital, in everybody's mind, that's buildings, right? That's what we're looking at as our facilities. So I'm just going to go on the record and say that. So if there's a way to move away from this model, I support that. I don't think that's sustainable, honestly.
I don't think anybody disagrees. I just think we're in a position where we have to do this right now.
Right. Property insurance, and then the available dollars for projects, you can see is the 46.3 million. And again, these are numbers that we're going to sit down and take a look at.
When does that debt service begin to get, it's like 2038 or something when it's paid up?
32.
Yeah, 2032 will have almost every last bit of it paid off.
I just want to throw a party when that happens.
Except for by then, Mr. Sousa, we might have
Build another
building new
school.
buildings and we'll have
Yeah,
built it
build
back up.
No,
Another school, too.
we're going to call all
But
the old board
old
members.
debt, you can have a note burning ceremony.
Yeah.
And a signing ceremony at the same
Yeah,
time.
right, exactly.
No more debt. No, it kills us.
And then you can see the voted millage as well, the 1% will bring in 76.6 million, but that's including charters. When you take the charters out and the commissions for the tax collector, BPS portion is about 64.6 million, which is 3.28 million more than last year.
The collection rate that you have for the expected revenue there, where did you get that 96% from? Is that
Yeah,
just
the state gives us.
That's
Okay.
the state, and that comes in the calcs.
When do we get the other 4%?
Well, we've never collected all 100%.
But Brevard
We get
County's
it
pretty
through, we get it through the year, like we just got our last payment about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it goes all the way through the year.
Are we at like usually at a 98?
98 is when-
It's higher,
Right.
yes.
But they're supposed to budget for that amount
Right.
by the state, right?
Well, just 2% collection will
Yeah.
obviously translate to
But we get the
more
actual.
funds in the budget, but,
Correct.
okay.
And this is the scenario for a home. You can see for $300,000, and you use a homestead exemption of $25,000, And in tax year 24, if everything stays the same, compared to 25, you would pay 28 cents less tax.
Y'all don't get so
I was like-
excited.
I'm like, why does it look
It's
the
not
same?
more.
Get it?
Honestly, you could go, because of that, except for the millage jump, which was a small jump, you could go back and your tax bill has pretty much been the same for 10 years.
If you've been homesteaded, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
If you've been in the same house.
And that's really what I have today.
So that's what I'm saying, actually.
Is there any questions that you have on anything that's going on right now with the federal funds, with?
Is there any indication when, any more word on when we might get them? Find out if we're gonna get them?
We don't have any communication at all. You know, when we do talk to people that we know in Washington, I shared this with a group last week. One group I talked to says, oh, it's all gonna be released in weeks, you know, not months, weeks. And other groups tell me that they're not ever gonna release it. So I don't know who knows,
Wow.
so.
Well,
But like the email Dr. Rendell sent, the US DOE did send correspondence to the state saying that they were gonna release the 21st century grants. I checked yesterday, it hasn't trickled down to the districts yet,
Didn't show up in the
hopefully.
bank account yet.
We haven't
Checks
seen
in
it
the
yet,
mail.
but they did announce that those funds would be released yesterday.
okay. Good. Good.
When it I mean, this is a hard one for advocacy, because what I'm reading and hearing is that some of the big hang-up is they're concerned that a lot of the funding was used in inappropriate ways. So, you know, I know that we have had long conversations about what our district is doing to use it to prepare teachers who are not, you know, like education majors in college and for CTE and all those kinds of things. But it's kind of a hard, I mean, because we could advocate with our congressmen, but they're not the ones. I mean, they could put pressure on the Department of Education, but it's kind of a tough one because we don't really have someone that we can call up and say, besides the president, and say, hey, Brevard is using these funds in appropriate ways and needful ways, and so
Maybe we can ask them to give us the money that the other people weren't using.
We can rat some out.
Always ask.
And I know FADS, you guys have had superintendents
Yeah.
up there, and I think I've seen a couple reports of superintendents being up there, and
Yeah. FADS did actually draft a letter, the executive committee FADS met
I saw
earlier
that.
this week and drafted a letter, and so I reviewed it yesterday. They're sending it, and it basically says, you know, these funds were actually budgeted, you know, this is funds that districts built their original budget plans on.
Right.
You know, they were supposed to be released July 1. You know, we understand you want to make some changes in the future going forward, but these things were kind of already promised. These funds were kind of already promised.
Yeah.
You know, they need to be released, so.
Right.
I think, I don't know, we talked about this some last week, but I've heard from a few people in the community, want us to come out and do town halls and about how this is going to affect things, and it's really the biggest answer is we don't know.
Yeah,
But I think I appreciate the way you guys have shared. I mean, we can assure people we're not dropping services. We're going to have 21st century childcare. We're going to continue to do what we can. I mean, we're going to get lean and mean, but we don't have, for the people who are concerned, we don't have drastic changes in programming that we're anticipating because we have some carryover from last year and we're being allowed to use that. I think the sky is not falling.
Not yet.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
is. But it's definitely, people need to know it's putting us and putting you guys and the state and the federal this year, perfect storm of situation, is putting us in you guys in a really tight position where you're having to make these decisions. Here we're scrambling. Feels like we're about to start school, have already started school, and we're scrambling to try to figure out how we're gonna.
Yeah, I
make
think
these
what
adjustments.
we said the other day was, we don't really want to see an impact at the schoolhouse. Like, we want them to show up and have all the resources they believe they're going to have, and we're going to do everything we can to provide that. Just have to do a lot of stuff, behind the scenes to make that work.
Yeah.
Well, I think the federal government's sending the message to get leaner, and this is something that you've said when this was presented to us as a board. It was, what, $6.6 million potentially in grants that we stand to lose. If I'm just using round numbers, I know these are not 100% accurate,
Right.
but if our budget's $1.6 billion, you're talking about 0.004% of your budget. So it hurts, yes, but the message needs to be that we need to figure out where we can come up with it. And again, we don't know where those dollars translated out. So that when they said they're reducing it by this much, that doesn't necessarily translate out to a dollar that's coming to a district. It could be dollars that are spent at the federal level with employees or buildings that have too many people staffed in it, or insurance costs, things that aren't coming necessarily to the district, but it's still a federal Department of Education expense. So while no one likes it, no one wants to hear less money. I don't think anybody ever wants to hear less money in your budget.
I think the timing is the biggest factor. That was a pretty.
It's never fun to trim a budget. It's never going to be a fun experience. So I just remain optimistic that it's going to
Right.
work out. So
It's not ideal.
Speaking of trimming the budget,
Sure.
when is the next time our banking RFP goes out?
banking.
Because I know that certain banks actually do armored cars. And you
Well,
know this
I-
thing that I keep bringing up that gives you heartburn?
It doesn't. It doesn't
does.
bring me
It does.
heartburn.
It's battle over it.
It's on our cone of silence right now. Just so
I
you
feel
know.
like. I was gonna say. I feel like
the
we-
armored cars.
We've
Is
renegotiated
it?
the armor cars last time.
On the last report that came out, yes.
It probably is then.
Then they must be out looking for it right now. I don't know.
I need to go back and check that out.
Well, anyways, there are some banks that do it as a cost of doing business.
Well, that might be something when we look at renewing the bank contracts, we might do that.
Just
Yeah.
keep it in the back
That
of your
makes
mind and let
sense.
me know.
Okay.
Right.
I know
Good
business
service.
as usual till then, but I'll be looking forward to that moment.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Stake in that thing.
Board, any further
There's one
questions
here
for
for
Cindy?
July 6th.
No, thank you,
Okay.
thank you for that.
If it's all right with the board,
Yeah.
we'll switch over to Sue Hand, who wants to present the,
That was in
her
case you
title
had
is
questions from us.
Construction Procurement. So she wanted to give you guys a
Right, yeah, I think it's.
101 on construction procurement.
Bring you the water?
And then that would
Sure, why not?
probably
Thank you.
release us
So
from
we're actually
having a,
moving an agenda item from
No, I'm good.
next Tuesday to today.
correct,
Okay, I'll do that.
yep.
But then we can release all these.
No, that's fine, yeah, I think it's still good, and we can spend a little or as much time as we want.
If John's read it, it'll go faster.
I'll point them to the right page.
I think he actually already has copies.
Sure.
Oh, I see it.
So these are the packets from Mr. McAlpin.
Okay.
Oh, right.
He left us 3, so I'm gonna give them to Lena, and she makes more copies and
Okay.
then put them in your
Perfect.
mailboxes.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry. Good morning. Yeah.
I want you to know that my little goat that squawks, it still works. My children find it every now and then.
Can we get this email to us too?
Yeah.
Or is it on the, is it attached?
No, I'm gonna give it to her to put on the, I wasn't sure
Oh,
it was
that's
gonna
okay.
be
This
on
was
the
supposed to be
agenda.
for next week.
To you guys, for sure.
This I had no problem.
That's why I'm like, I don't.
Because this was on next Tuesdays, and that's what he said early at the beginning. If we move it to today, then we don't have, we can cancel the workshop on Tuesday.
Okay. All right. I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, it said board matters, and I think this.
Or members.
Member matters, so some of this fell under member.
I-
This did not. This he pulled over today because, so we can.
Yes, this was not on the agenda, but
Okay.
if we cover this today, we actually don't have anything on the agenda for next week's work session.
Yeah, but I just
So we were hoping to
Once we
cancel
come
that.
up with something to put on there, right?
Yeah.
There's always time.
Well, but again, for me, Vivian's,
No, weird stuff. What weird stuff?
Remember he was bringing stuff from like China and whatever? That was your thing. You were like giving us all these weird things. I'm like, nobody's eating that. Ugh. You
I
got
was
Gene
buying-
to try it.
I was buying care
I thought I had
packages for
to.
my daughter, and I came across that.
So
And I
just
was like,
monthly
oh, I'll buy that for the
subscription
staff. I haven't done that
packages.
since.
Yeah,
That reminds me, I should
Thank
do
God.
something like that.
Please don't bring that back. That was so gross.
Smell bad.
Oh, no.
Sue, can you send me this?
I will.
We were loopy back then.
Minions.
We were trying to save the district.
Everybody needs to step up their image game, but they're all gone. So.
What is it?
Yeah, Sue usually has puppies.
we already
Good.
know.
Cleared the room.
Minions.
Nobody ever tries to keep up with Sue with the emojis and
That's
the.
right.
So if I
Clip
can make
art.
a request before we go, next time we put together something like this, big A school district in the upper left-hand corner. That's really cool.
There's a comment thread here.
You know, you're right.
It'll fit.
I have that in a different presentation. But
I
on
can't
this
tell
one.
you how proud I am, because we
That's
are.
very cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I'm talking to the principal, like doing New Principal Academy, like I talk to them about how facilities actually matter and contribute to the A grade. So
Yeah.
I do have that A up there, because we're part of that too, and we're proud of that too,
Yes, yes.
for sure.
Well, for the third year coming.
Repeat.
You guys ready?
Do you have names for each one of your staff members with the minions?
Well,
That represents
there's one, Minion Dave.
Which one is he?
He's
Linda
kind of
May?
like
That
this
one.
one, I believe. And if you've met Dave Martin, hopefully we're not, yeah, Dave Martin looks a little bit like this.
Oh.
He's gonna hear that and go,
Wait for the
thanks a
camera.
lot."
He has heard it. He's heard
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah. So first, I want to set expectations for this presentation.
Okay.
This is not as going to be as exciting as some of the other ones that I've
Oh, like the
given
budget
to you.
presentation?
So this kind of came out of a conversation that I've had with Mrs. Wright and a few others about, you know, how we are doing our construction procurement. I thought, you know, it might be a good idea to just give you the big picture of how this happens. And so in our department, we're buying a lot of different things, right? So we buy professional services, basically brain power, you know, engineering type services. We buy trades, so we do trade contracts for things like air conditioning repair, electrical repair, plumbing, that kind of stuff. We buy little stuff. We buy fence, we buy light bulbs, so we buy commodities, and then we buy construction services. And this is where we spend a lot of our resources on the capital and the surtax side. And we use 3 different methods, design, build, construction management, and general contractors. Most of our work is in the construction management arena, and I'm going to go into some of the reasons why that is. But we do have a general contractor services contract, and we do have some design, build, continuing contracts. So it just kind of gives you the wide perspective of things that we buy. Like we bought a 50-some-odd $million middle school. We buy light bulbs, we buy chillers, and most recently we've been working with Heritage High School on a school-initiated project for them, and we're actually buying a Panther. So
Yay.
they're
Live.
paying for the Panther out of their school funds,
Caged?
but yeah. So you know, we buy lots of different stuff, so we need to kind of resource our procurement based on the types of things that we're buying. So we also have a lot of constraints. So we do a lot of different types of work, but every single one of them requires administration and oversight. So whether we're buying a Panther, whether we're changing out light bulbs, or whether we're building a new middle school, I have project managers, I have accountants, I have people who support all of that work. So every time someone says, hey, I want to, and we have to execute, we have people that support that activity. Our summer construction season is shrinking. Some of it is year-round schools, so that makes a difference, right? We have to plan differently. But some of it is we're doing great programs in our schools. So we really ramped up summer school and summer enrichment and summer stuff. And even like, for example, the summit tomorrow, you're not gonna be parking on a fully paved parking lot because we're not quite done. And so our summer construction season is shrinking, and we're trying to work around that. And we're actually starting to do more work on occupied campuses, which has its own set of problems, mostly in the security requirements arena. Making sure that we have good subcontractors, that's been a challenge. When you look at some of the bids that come in, our guaranteed maximum price bids, you look and see sometimes they provide all the bids. Sometimes we don't have a lot of bids in some of the big trades too. So that's a challenge. Material and equipment availability. Our projects go on for like 3 years, because if we don't get the chiller timing just right, we don't do it in this summer, we end up doing it next summer. So now we have to store it. There's all sorts of stuff around scheduling that makes our work a little bit more challenging. So, you know, bottom line is, and this is the picture is kind of, I have Dave Martin in my head, because when I first started here, he was explaining how we do all this work in summer, and he's like, the kids are coming, like they're coming whether we're ready or not, so we got to be ready. So that's one of our big constraints. Like we can't like not finish. So you're in the private sector, you know, 2 weeks delay, no big deal. You're in the public sector, in our world, we got to have something place for kids to sit when school opens.
Sue, when you,
Yeah.
previously when we had issues at Endeavor, the school board volunteered to go in there and help teach. I don't know if you remember that. We went in there and did that. I'd like
No,
that.
thank you.
Sing it.
Knew where you were going.
So
Way
when I
to
was
shut
going,
that down before it even
look,
got
have
out.
the school board volunteer our time to help construction.
Yeah.
I got some tools.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
okay. So
Work on your house, Mr. Susan.
So this one is a little bit of a rabbit hole that I just wanted to give you a heads up on. We've been working with district security, and as you know, security requirements are getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And literally every human that is walking onto a job site has to be badged. And that works out great when we, working with our mechanical contractors, they all go get badged, everything's fine. But when you need a cleanup crew or a demo crew, or the roofing contractor needs somebody, we can't get them badged in 20 minutes or less.
Right.
And so this idea of being escorted has generated quite a bit of conversation. As best I can determine, state law allows a school district employee or a contractor who has been properly badged. For example, our superintendents of all of our construction managers and our design builders are all badged employees.
Right.
Board policy doesn't specifically reference construction workers, but where it's kind of housed in the policy by implication is supervised by district employees. And so we have a little bit of a conflict here, working with district security, and as we update the policy as part of the Neola updates, you'll probably see some language around this.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're kind of working through this, because literally this summer we have hired police officers to staff some of our jobs because we don't have people that are district employees, and our badged superintendents were not meeting the requirements of the policy. So we're just trying to work through it. Our mantra this summer was get it done, we'll figure it out later, and we're gonna be figuring it out later. So these are the rules that we work under in procurement for construction services. Board Policy 6320, there's lots of stuff in there, but generally we work under invitations to bid, and we work under request for qualifications. The RFQ process is under Florida Statutes 287-055. It's called the Consultants Competitive Negotiations Act. It's related to professional services. So when you read the statute, it talks about professional engineering and architecture services, surveying, landscape architecture, that type of thing. Design build is considered a professional service because there are engineers as part of the team, so you're procuring engineers. Construction management's kind of a little squishy as to which side of that line it's on. But in board policy, specifically mentions construction management as under the RFQ process. So we're acquiring a professional service. It doesn't say you can't bid construction management services. It's done in the private sector. And my past experience, you can do that, but you're buying a construction manager who's kind of the professional, who's then buying the subs that go underneath that management. So when we start a project, projects over $7.5 million require competitive selection. That's state law. So anything like a new school, typically we're in that arena. So it goes out in the marketplace. Projects under $7.5 million, we use our continuing services construction managers or design builders. We have 10 construction management firms, 5 design builders. They were competitively selected through an RFQ process, but it is a quality-based selection. It is not price-based at all. So basically they come in, we've built 1 million schools, we do great work, blah, blah, blah. We have a committee that's usually some of our staff as well as some school-based staff, folks like the facility AP type folks. And we go through that process, we make a recommendation, it eventually goes to the board. You all approve the contracts with our continuing services vendors. And then we assign work on an equitable distribution basis. Now, that gets a little challenging because this limit has gone from 2 million up to 7.5 million over the last 5 or 6 years. And so when you give a vendor a $7.5 million project, then the next vendors get a bunch of $2 million projects. The math gets wonky. So everybody's working through that. but generally speaking, we want to try to give our vendors about the same amount of work every year. We also have a continuing contract for general contractor services. This went through a selection process as well. 5 vendors were awarded, and this contract can be used for up to $300,000 projects. And those, in my world, don't have too many of them, but we can. The contract amount between 5 and 300, we bid to all of them. So I think there's 5 of them. So we say we want to build XYZ. We give it to everybody. They all give us a price, and we typically will select the lowest bidder. We use that occasionally for our single trade projects. And then we also have continuing contracts for the trade specifically. So if we have just like a very compact HVAC project or electrical project, we put that out among our trades vendors, and typically we'll select the lowest bidder.
Can I ask a question real
yes,
fast
ma'am.
before you go to the next slide? Sorry. When it comes to the competitive bid and that being set in Florida statute, is there anything that would prevent a board from saying projects, are we allowed to set a dollar amount that's less than that to require competitive solicitation? I know that that is, you're
Yes.
probably going, oh my gosh, that's gonna make a nightmare for me, but.
Well, no. So this limit used to be 2 million.
Yeah.
And we have increased it with board approval as the state has increased the limit in state law.
Right.
So we used to do a lot more RFQs. So all that does, if that goes down,
Yeah.
process expands. And so we do a lot more RFQs. And again, they're not competitively bid, they're quality-based selections. So all this still is not, you're not getting a cost comparison, you're getting a quality comparison. And honestly, all of our vendors do about, if they're not doing good work for us, they're
Right.
going. So.
And I guess my thought process here again is just competitive solicitation.
Okay.
That to me, I guess I'm getting hung up on competitive bid being price, right?
Right.
Like the competitive market makes us all strive for the lowest price, best bang for our dollar.
So if we want to do that, that's a whole different ballgame. Because what we're buying is construction managers. So they are basically taking on kind of that space where you are managing the job, managing the trades. We do that. We've got to have the staff to do that. I do not have the staff to do that. I don't have, like, for example, we have one engineer on district staff, and that's me. And I'm not qualified to review mechanical plans.
Right.
So we have to buy those services, and then we use those plans under that scenario. We put them out to bid. And if there's anything that doesn't go right, then we end up in change order world.
Right.
And I would be very nervous about doing that in a big way, because I would want to hire a firm to do peer review on the plans, just because we don't have the staff to do that. And then I would probably want to hire a firm to do construction management of the whatever contractor we end up hiring under low bid. So it will likely cost about the same, in my opinion, because we are going to have to hire the oversight to do it that way. And Mrs. Wright, there are a lot of different ways to do this. There's no perfect answer. So we might, in some cases, get a lower price. Absolutely. We might also end up in situations where we're in contract disputes. One of the things that I'm really adamant about with my team and with our vendors is we don't want to go down that rabbit hole of contract disputes, because we don't produce classrooms at the end of the construction season, right? We have things in our contract that protect us financially, but it doesn't help us when we're trying to produce a school. And so the construction management process that we use right now, we look at those firms as partners, not as like competitors. So it's a little different mindset than what you might be used to in the private sector, and even what I was used to in my prior public sector background, because we gotta be finished and it's gotta be right, and we don't have a lot of room for disputes with poor engineering, whether it's our fault or our engineer's fault. Like, that gets into a whole nother level of contract dispute. So the process we're using is probably more expensive, absolutely, but we get results and we get them in the time frame we need, and we're paying for exceptional customer service. So that's the parameter that governs most of our work.
Sue?
Yes, sir.
A couple questions.
Mhm.
So I know that the statute defines what we
Mhm.
have to do, and then there's a process, our process on how we meet that statute. And there's other school districts that have similar or even some differences.
Mhm.
My first question is, how often do we look at the other school districts and their processes to make sure that we have the best practices, to make sure that we are selecting the best firms?
Not often enough would be the answer to that. Like, we don't typically go to all the conferences that we could go to for that type of thing. I talk to my buddy in Osceola once in a while, that kind of thing, but honestly, we could do more of that. I believe that we do some of the best practices in the state only because, like, occasionally we're presenting
Mhm.
in some of the work that we do. But we could do more there, absolutely.
Okay, and then, so we haven't done it in a while, I would assume then?
No, I haven't done now, everybody works under the statute. What I would end up doing is researching the procurement policies around the
Mhm.
state. And it's possible that our procurement folks do that. Since this got generated yesterday, that is a question I haven't asked, but it's possible that they've done that.
I guess, and where I'm going with it all is I've looked at some other policies, because I just would like to ensure that we are being totally, we have committee members, everybody has good intentions, I'm
Yep.
not questioning anybody's intent, but we want the best bang for the buck.
Yep.
We want the highest quality, blah, blah,
For
blah.
sure.
So how those committees are selected, the process those committees follow, I really would like to see, look at other counties. Orange County, I know does a lot of work. But, so we have the most objective policy possible, and that it's done, that we get the best quality.
Yeah, a lot of our selection committees have a core group of people who are doing the work, and then, like if it's at a particular school, we'll have the principal, facility AP. We may bring in somebody from ET or one of the food services, one of the other departments that's kind of an operational department.
My concern is on the committee side of it, is just to make sure that those, without diving into the weeds, we can,
Yeah.
talk another day, but that, I just want, since we're on the subject, make sure that whoever those how the committee members are and how that process is followed
Yep.
is not done based upon, lack of a better way of putting it, good old boy system that I know this guy for 20 years and he
Right.
happens to be,
Right.
based on what they actually bring to the
Yep.
table.
Absolutely.
So I just bring that to your attention, and I'll circle back with you on it.
Okay, completely agree, thank you. So, we actually do think about which procurement method we use. And so it depends typically on the scope of work, how complicated the project is, whether it's got multi-trades, whether it's a single trade, our staff capacity to manage those projects, budget limitations, schedules, stakeholder, like all that stuff. We have some projects that our construction management firm superintendent, his or her relationship with the school is important. Like, we got a lot of conversation around scheduling and things like that, and some of it's just, it's over there, we go build it and don't really need to worry about it. So, we really try to match our approach to the job that we need to get done. So, the hard bid design build method, I've kind of talked through most of this slide, but my concern with that is, again, being able to manage that appropriately with our resources. And I would be concerned about trying to increase our staff because, we'd have to staff them with cars and computers and office space and like all of that stuff, and you keep building. And our resources for capital improvements tend to do this, and using construction management design build firms allows us to do this. So when we need more, we get more. When we need less, we get less. We've got a really strong core staff that I think manages what we have, and we have some ability to go bigger and smaller. But if we were staffing these jobs as a construction manager, we'd be a lot bigger, or we'd be doing less work. That's the other thing. Like, we put a lot of work out of our department, and it's because we have that force multiplier with our construction managers. But we do occasionally do this, and you've seen it, maybe Cocoa High School tennis was the last one that we just hard bid the project, project managers managing it. It doesn't require a ton of hands-on, but what you don't see with that is, for example, with Cocoa High School tennis, they're like, oh, well, we need the lights, and we need gopher tortoises moved, and so these little things come up, and they're little, but it requires a project manager to do something. So she's out getting bids for lighting, and she's out figuring out how to get the gopher tortoise moved, whereas if it was under construction manager, that's their problem. We're also using this, I've got Tony Terwisi is the guy who's doing all of our classroom renovations, and he volunteered to do an experiment with us this summer. So he's doing a hybrid. He's got a construction manager on site that is doing like the big demo, take it down, put it back kind of stuff. And then he's hired the flooring contractor and the abatement contractor off of our trades contracts. So he's doing some of the management, not all of the management. That makes me really nervous, because we've got construction manager responsible for most of it, but their success is based on the company that Tony's managing as a trades contractor. It's working out fine, but it also has a possibility for not working out fine. And so, again, we're sort of trying new things to see. What did you say, Mr. Trent, earlier? You plan, reflect, and adapt, right? So, Tony wanted to try this because specifically it is less money. Like, we're not paying fee on the flooring contractor. We're not paying for construction manager to manage that contractor. It's cheaper, but Tony's on that job a lot. So,
How many project managers do we have employed with our district?
so I have, I think I have 5, plus Tony's a borrowed resource from the maintenance department. So
Okay.
he's acting as a project manager and doing some other things too. And they have, at any given time, like, we probably have, and this is gonna sound like an exaggeration, but we have about 200 projects on the books. And we have 200 projects on the books because we're planning projects here, executing here, doing warranty walkthroughs and closeouts over here. So a project manager has this project for like 3 years. And so the one that everybody sees is like right here. That's what they're working on. But they're planning, like, literally you're seeing contracts come in for next summer's work on your board agenda. So they're working those, they're walking those with the contractors, and then they're also doing warranty walkthroughs and checking, the closeouts and doing all that stuff for the jobs from 2 years ago. So it's like they never actually finish. And so they've got a pretty full plate. Design build, this one is where the engineer and the architect works for the design builder. And the big difference between that and construction manager is the engineer works for us for construction manager. Both of these models, the contracts are open book. So you see the guaranteed maximum price. There's lots of language in our contract about, all of the details are public record. Like, if you want to see all the details of the contract, you can see it. Anybody can see it. So our change orders, you very rarely see a change order that is not an owner-directed change order. Every once in a while, we had a couple in COVID, like big material escalation kind of things, but generally speaking, it's something that we said, hey, we want you to do another service. So both of these models, we pay a fee. Our fee schedule is between 4% and 15%, so bigger job, smaller fee, little job, big fee. So one of the strategies we use is we try to combine jobs. If we're doing more than one thing at a school, we try to combine them so we get the fee down. So I've talked about most of this stuff on construction manager. What's in the GMP? So when you get this on your board agenda, you'll see general requirements. This is things like dumpsters, toilets, allowances, all of that. general conditions are the direct labor charges, so the superintendent, the project executive, the project accountant, the project engineer, and this is really where we do our negotiations is, you know, do you really need that many labor hours? Now, what's interesting though is they actually bill us for the time worked. And so the only thing that is something I talked to my staff about is kind of making sure that they are appropriately staffing the job. So we don't need 6 superintendents on a little job, right? So that type of thing, just making sure. And, you know, our vendors are pretty good. They've worked with us and they don't abuse the system as best we can tell, but this is something that we monitor. And this is the area where we do some negotiations. So also in the GMP, you'll see subcontractor bids, the fee, there's contingency and allowances. Our contracts clear that they only get fee on these if they're used. Some contracts you'll see a lot of allowances. That usually means that the vendor hadn't had enough time to go actually get bids, so there's an allowance, or it's a service we're not sure we might need, like some surveying or something that we just don't know. And then you see the insurance and bonding at the bottom, and we've taken, they do not get a fee on that, that's just a direct cost. So, materials and equipment, there's a couple different ways to do this. Most of our stuff is owner direct purchases, meaning it is within the GMP. So when you see your GMP, we're getting a new chiller, the chiller is under that contract. But state law allows us to procure it directly, and there's like 6 or 7 inches of paperwork that go with that, but it allows us to save the sales tax. So we pay directly the manufacturer and they don't get charged sales tax. The responsibility for that equipment still lies with the construction manager or the design builder. So we actually had this happen where a chiller was damaged when it got to us, and we wrote the purchase order directly to one of the chiller manufacturers, but the construction manager handled it and took care of it. So we actually tested that theory. And the construction manager, design builder does get a fee on the owner direct purchase because they are responsible for that equipment. Now, on occasion, we do owner purchase, contractor installed. An example of this might be we're buying LED light bulbs from one of our continuing suppliers, and we have a warehouse full of light bulbs, and we do a bid to install those light bulbs. So that is an example of owner purchase, contractor installed. That's typically, it's not included in the GMP, and that's our responsibility. So if we have a bunch of broken light bulbs, that's our problem, not the contractor's problem. Still save the sales tax. So those are the 2 different ways that we do that. So I mentioned some of our subcontractor challenges. In a healthy economy, like we're competing with other construction projects, and we're competing, we're competing with ourselves. Like we have so much work that our vendors can't always staff that work. Like we can't always get as many subs as we need to. Our work is hard. Like you're working in the summer, it's hot, it's miserable. We want you doing 15-hour days because you got to get it done. It's complicated. Sometimes our paperwork can be a little bit much, and then the security requirements are causing our vendors a little bit of anxiety too. So, you know, it's not impossible. It's just this is the world we live in, and we gotta figure it out. I did want to talk about some of the controls that we have. So we do annual rate audits on all our continuing design builders and construction managers. So every year, our auditor CRI goes in, they look and they see, all right, Suhan makes this much money. Are they charging this much money for Suhan's time? So they do that every year. So we have current rate audits. They validate phone charges, computer charges, vehicle charges, all that stuff that you see in the GMP. So those are regularly checked. They do their insurance and their bonding rates. I have a facility construction contract specialist. She actually, along with the project managers, participates in the negotiations. She checks all the math, so all that gets checked. So by the time it comes to your agenda, it's been negotiated, and generally speaking, we don't have major changes from what they give us to what you see. But we do go through their contract very carefully, and we try to catch anything that's wrong. Sometimes we catch stuff that's in their favor too. And sometimes we will say, you know, this is too much for that scope, or too many hours, or we don't really need to do this, and it comes down. So we do look at each contract. But timing is a problem too. So here's the plans. You guys need to start in 3 weeks. We got a board meeting in a week and a half. Get us a price. So that contributes to the problem too. Our district's engineer, like our engineering consultant, under the CM model, will review and approve pay applications. So is it done? Is it done right? Is it there? Our project manager reviews the pay apps. We have a fund accountant reviews and pay apps, and she checks the math too. Checks receipts. So if they're charging for something, there's a receipt attached to it. The district project manager will approve or not contingency use, so if there's a request to use contingency. And then, all of our contracts over $1 million are audited by a third party for compliance with the contract terms. That doesn't necessarily audit for, did we get the best value for this job? They're auditing for compliance with the contract terms. So they validate the rate, the labor rates and all that. And then they produce what you see on your board agenda, which is a final deductive change order. And typically you'll see a list of these things where there's money coming back. So rarely do they charge the full amount of the GMP. So we do get something back. And then at the back end, we also do a commissioning process on most of our HVAC jobs. That's hiring a third-party mechanical engineer that comes in and makes sure that the system is functioning in accordance with the design intent. So there's lots of checks and balances. It's not perfect, but and some of that is required by state law, depending on the size of the project. So we try to have a lot of controls on this, but again, it's not a perfect system, but there is management oversight. Contingency and allowances. A lot of the work we do is take this 70-year-old building and make it better. And so even though we have a scope in mind and their set of design plans, when you take that wall down, you find, oh gee, maybe that plumbing really needs to go too. Mm-hmm. And so we end up doing way more work and sometimes way different work than what we started. And we have the opposite problem where if things are going really well and we have contingency and capacity, financial capacity left in the contract, everybody looks around and goes, what else can we do while we're here? And so we try to get more work done if it's work that we're going to need to do anyway. We do get buyout savings, so when the subcontractor bids come in lower than what is in the GMP, sometimes that happens. There's money left over that gets rolled into the contingency. But again, all of that is the district project manager directing and approving the use of contingency and or sales tax savings. Allowances we use for things when we don't know what to expect, like temporary power, temporary AC is good example of that. We don't know how long we're going to need it or if we're going to need it. And the actual cost usually is under the full amount of the allowance. We also have terms in our construction contract that these are actual kind of quotes from our construction contract, making reasonable efforts to obtain 3 bids, assessing the marketplace, generating bidder interest. And when you see something in the GMP for like copying costs and advertising, this is what they're talking about. They're out in the marketplace trying to solicit bids. And then the design build contract has very similar language. But we are trying to evolve our practice. As you mentioned, Mr. Thomas, like there's better ways to do business. One of the things that has come up is builder's risk insurance is getting a little wonky in their marketplace. And so they're asking us, is it maybe cheaper for us to insure it under our insurance policy? So we're working with risk management. We've had some success in doing that and really cutting the builder's risk insurance costs. We try different ways to do contracts. I talked about our classroom renewal project. The LED conversion, we're probably on like method number 4 now, trying to figure out what's the best way to do that. Because we could do the standard, let's hire an engineer and let's, spend $100,000 doing engineering for $40,000 worth of lighting. That just didn't seem like a good idea, right? So, all right, let's try just replacing the bulbs. Well, it's too bright, it's too dark. So we're trying different ways to get this done. And the latest one is the one that I mentioned, where I think we're gonna buy some LEDs in bulk. We can get some good pricing through one of our continuing vendors, and then bid out the actual installation. And then we have hard bid a few of our minor athletic projects. We bundle projects to try to reduce the fee. And we've done some partnering. The civil work that you're gonna see at Satellite tomorrow that's not quite done is actually under a contract with the city of Satellite Beach. So we don't have good civil construction resources. We do building stuff. The municipalities and the county, they all do civil stuff. So we have some, I think there's 3 or 4 of them, where if we need work done in a particular jurisdiction and they have the capacity to do it, either some of them in-house, some of them have contracts, we partner with them and try to get the work done. But we're continually working on our practices, and we also talk to our auditor because they see different practices throughout the state, and they can give us some advice too. So we're always trying to do better. We're just busy, so it's a lot happening all at once. But really trying to do the best we can and bring good value to the district. But as I mentioned when I started, failure is not an option. So we've got all the standard, contract terms, and we'll charge you liquidated damages, and we'll mediate and arbitrate and go to court and do all that stuff. But it doesn't do anything for us if we don't have a finished product when school's ready. And I chose that picture specifically because that has happened. And when that stuff happens, it's like, go fix that. But if under the design, bid, build, you may end up talking change order. Under construction management, I just tell, go fix that. You're a superintendent, that's stupid, go fix it. There's a different relationship with the construction manager than you have with a bidder. So different approaches for different types of scope of work. And then we really, really embrace the idea of collaboration and partnership. That's not the way everybody does business. We take this seriously, because I'll tell you, we've had several incidents. Something's on fire on Sunday night. I can pretty much call up any of the principals on our construction manager list and say, I'm sorry I woke you up, but I need you guys out there at 2 o'clock in the morning. Could you do it? Yeah, absolutely. And they will do it. So it's a very different mindset, and we get really good results. But we pay for that customer service. It is not the most, it's not the least costly way to do business, but it's getting at good results. And so, I think there's some things on the border between construction management and hard bid that we might be able to look at differently over time. And our staff has taken that comment and observation seriously, and we're kind of looking for opportunities to do that. But for most of what we do, you probably continue to see the construction management approach coming to you on your agendas. So bottom line, we're trying to match the procurement method to the scope and our staff capacity. And we've had this happen too, we negotiate with a construction manager, their price, their staffing, their something isn't what we want to do. We walk away and we go to the next one on the rotation. What we can't do is go back and say, well, this guy gave us a price and it's not as good. We can't go backwards. So once we say, I'm sorry, we're not working with Mr. Trent anymore, we're going to work with Mr. Susan, we're stuck with Mr. Susan. We can't go back to Mr. Trent, but we can go.
But could you go, I'm not working with Mr. Susan anymore, I'm going to go with Miss Ray?
Yes, you
Okay.
can do that. You can do that. We've typically done no more than 2 steps.
Okay.
And occasionally I'd say we've done 1 more frequently, but I think there's maybe 1 I can think of where we've done 2. And then from where I'm sitting, we're managing both staff resources and contractor resources, so I gotta look at both as we're putting these things together, and always trying to find the best option within our constraints. So hopefully I didn't talk too long, and we just keep working. Just keep working. So thanks for the opportunity to get this in today, and
That was good.
have any questions, happy to answer them. And
I like to just jump in there first and say
Sure.
thank you. Over the course of the last almost 7 years, I've seen you and your team, continue to streamline processes, and so that you are, getting more and more efficient with every year and every project and every process, and making sure that we're using resources. You manage a lot of resources, and you manage them well. But it's not it's not been the same from when I got on 2018 to now. It's continually evolving to make sure that we're doing it in the absolute best way. So I appreciate you walking through all these, the hows and the whys of what we do when it comes to construction, and it's a lot. And it looks to me, and that in the next coming years we're going to have even more on the plate of
I hope so.
your team. Yes,
I hope so.
Yes. So I just appreciate the work that you do and the thoughtfulness in which you approach each of these things.
Probably spoke for the board there. That was good. Board, anything else?
Dane Theodore used to be the one before Ms. Hand, and he used to have a Viking helmet in his office with horns on it. Do you remember that? And he used to say that he'd have to put that on every once in a while because of the things that Ms. Hand normally does that we hear such great things about. There is a war behind the scenes that we appreciate you waging. And I did want to point out that you have goats, minions, dogs, and tropical fish assisting you, but you refuse the school boards. So it's just a duly noted thing that I'm not allowed to put my tools on.
Yeah.
I grew up on my dad's construction sites, so he was always telling me to do stuff, so I knew it. And I wanted to note that that camera, I think, is from 1984, that picture, just so everybody can contextually understand that it's not something we've just installed. That is an old camera that you see faded out when you go to old government buildings in a new picture.
It's not our camera. But
It's just a meme, Mr.
We've
Susan.
had
It's
the
just
cameras
you tell
go up
people.
and
You
then
emailed
we do
about
something
it.
else, like we build a shed or something, and it's like, oops. Yeah.
And that ceiling was something from the 60s too. But I did want to ask, is there an opportunity, since we're trying to look for good things, to think about?
Sure.
That in the event that there's something that a board member knows about that's in their community that is going to be like a hot button issue. For instance, I know for a fact my baseball, softball field out here at Viera is going to be a major ordeal, right?
It's a major ordeal in my area.
So, well, in those cases, maybe the board member can be brought in and say, hey, maybe this is something we go out to bid. Maybe this is something, but we set that ahead of time just as a team. That's all. I know that there's 99% of those projects we don't want us anywhere near. But there are some that come up like, that are hot button. You know what I mean? So maybe we just kind of work together on those.
So that's a good point, Mr. Simpson. Like, we can do one.
Yeah.
We can't do
Right.
40.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we think about that from the very beginning
Yeah.
and transition our processes to meet that need, like we would do a much, let me see if I say this right. Like if we were going to do that with, for example, a baseball, softball field,
Yeah.
you know.
And I'm not advocating that for mine, I'm just saying.
But
it,
like
you know.
I'd have a much stronger peer review of the plans, like there'd be
Yep.
some things I'd do months ago
Mhm.
to set us up for that.
Yeah.
So if there's something like that you all think is important,
How far out do you plan so like right now, do you have next summer's projects on the gun, or do you, so maybe it would be a summer thing ahead where you would let us see something and just know, and we would instinctually know that, like I know anything that deals with the community is going to be a thing, so then I could say, oh, well, this one, tell me about it, you know what I mean, kind of
So
stuff.
I think where that would come into play for you all is when you start looking at the capital plan.
Okay, okay.
And you look at the capital plan, you're like, oh, this one's gonna be a big
Yeah.
community issue. Maybe
Okay.
we should collaborate on how we do procurement. Because if we think about it now,
Yep.
we can adjust our processes to do something different or innovative, like, that's fine. It's just when we're like getting ready to
Right.
build, it's really hard to change course.
Yeah.
But in the planning stages, absolutely.
Something like that might be the best way to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to go through
Yeah.
this, and I want to recognize the fact that your job is a very difficult job, and trying to balance, you sat down, you were so fortunate, and I was fortunate to sit down with your team and really look at this, because this conversation started over having some concern over what the board had approved on a project and what the bids are coming in at, and I'm like going, whoa, what is happening here? And then a lot of things I learned, we're always learning, so I learned a lot of things. You know, I get that you are balancing between getting the best service, best contractor, timely service, and then also that doesn't always equate to the best price, right? But I do believe in a competitive market making us better, so I don't necessarily love the equitable distribution method that's happening there. And if there's a way, again, we're spending somebody else's money, so I'm always extremely cautious about that. So when I see a bill come in and it's not my dollars, I'm going, is this the best bang for our buck? This isn't my dollar, this is somebody else's dollar. And so if I can't say that, then my gut instinct is we need to figure out a way that we can say, yes, we explored every option and we got the best, best service, best product for our dollars. It's one of the frustrations I think people have with government, because you're going, why in the world does a toilet seat at NASA cost us $5,000, but I can go to Home Depot and get one for $20? Like, those are the things where you're just going, we can't continually keep on doing that. So whatever we can do to get to the other side of, we can honestly say, yes, we got the best service, the best product, for the dollars spent. I would love to see that happen. So thank you for taking the time one-on-one to sit with me. I appreciate all that.
And to
insight.
clarify, we do not have $5,000 toilets.
No, we do not have $5,000 toilet seats, but there have been.
If they do, I want them
other
installed in
governmental
the board
agencies,
office.
yeah, crazy things like that, where
Maybe
you're like,
that's where that DOE money's going.
yeah, it might be. Who knows? So, yeah, thank you, Sue. Appreciate you.
Yes, that was great.
I was going to open a can of worms, but I'm going to put my worms back in the
All
can
right,
and
you got
save
it.
it for
No worms.
later.
Okay.
Please no worms.
Thanks, everybody. I
Thanks
appreciate-
again.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all fitting me in today. Thank you.
All right. All right. Anything you want to do, Dr. Rendell?
No, not to add to that, just to set the stage for this is the working guidelines that the board has worked off of in the past. This is the 2024-2025 edition. So typically the board would review these and talk about what it means, what it looks like, and if they all pledge to do all these things, then there's the page at the end for you to sign. But this would need to be updated,
Right.
say 25-26.
And I asked Dr. Rendell
Here we go.
to bring these things forward because we didn't do it back in December, so thank you, Dr. Rendell.
Absolutely.
So,
All right, so how did we want to proceed? You want to just kind of glance page by page? I'm not going to ask you to read a page each. Okay, I'm sure we still want to, we want to get through it all, but
do you
we
want to
don't
break for
spend
lunch
too
and come
much.
back?
No, we can hammer this out.
No, yeah, I only have a few things.
And I think it probably would be good for us to not have to, obviously we can't sign it because it's not the wrong
Correct.
dates, but if we could agree to all, I mean, let's discuss anything we want to get out there, but if to all be ready to sign it at, next Tuesday if everybody's agreeable with
Right,
it.
and, I mean, not a legal contract, so, I mean,
Right. These
we're
are
all
just-
good people.
these-
We've-
This is a gentleman's agreement.
Exactly.
And gentlewomen.
And gentlewomen.
Let's
Yeah,
make
so
sure that
basically,
leave
if you
yourself
guys
out of
go
this.
through this and everybody agrees with everything that's in there, then, just update it, change the date on the front, and change the signature
Exactly.
pages on the back, and then when you come in next Tuesday, you can all sign it at your leisure.
Right.
You
And
don't
I think
have
it's
to
great
have a
that we're
meeting.
going through this right before school year instead of in January, like we did, so. So do we just want to go page by page?
Sure.
Kind of
Page
take a
one.
look, then say, yep, we're good
Page
here.
one, let's move that picture to a more recent picture, to a.
It's got to say
regular-
A district,
Oh, one that
right?
doesn't have the shuttle.
The shuttle and a district, preferably yellow or something bright in
These
the
are,
upper left hand
that's the
corner.
slide change.
And we don't have a page
I
one.
think the double rocket landing from
This is his picture.
SpaceX is good.
I think we should use the fun picture from,
We do that. Whatever you
From
want
the
to do.
board
Oh,
office.
yeah,
Fun
our
picture?
silly board photo.
Either way.
That's fun too. All right, so just looking at page one, the expectations that the board has with the board superintendent communications framework, there's a couple things that are happening on here, or that aren't happening on here that I guess we probably need to get back to. And some of it has to do with the nature in which things happen, and investigations have to be done before things can go out necessarily, but student emergency, we were getting those. When I first got on the board, we were getting those pretty regularly. If we had a notification of a student passing, and it could be because we haven't had any, and that would be a great scenario, but I don't know that that's true. So, student emergency, so arrest, injury, death. Injury we get, arrest I don't think I've ever been maybe I don't know, not very often, of a student arrest. Have you been notified of a student arrest
On
ever?
campus or off?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we probably need clarifying words there. So, and then the staff emergency thing too. So, death, arrest, injury, we need to be notified of those pretty immediately.
Right, thought we were.
Can I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but what about being notified, not necessarily we're going to be participants, but notified of press conferences? Obviously, I'm
That's
thinking of an
page
emergency
6,
that happened.
page 7, page 8.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Disregard.
Yeah.
There's levels here, right? So like your student emergencies, somebody gets injured, we should classify which ones we want, because I'll be honest with you, the ones that we get from, I think it's Miss Piccolo that does it, or
Oh,
somebody.
the incident report.
Incidents
report.
on.
Yeah, incident reports are kind of after the fact. I mean, I think we do still issue those. The
But-
student emergencies, student deaths primarily. We had a couple instances this year where one department thought it was their responsibility, or thought it was somebody else's responsibility, and another department thought it was another department's responsibility. We've cleaned that all up.
Yeah.
Like, we know it's coming from GCR. So
Okay.
we know it's coming from GCR.
And the principal should know to send it to them, because a
Yeah.
lot of times they just don't.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah,
And it's
but-
not our team's fault.
In the past, student services was actually handling that, and it didn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
GCR should be doing that.
Okay.
Right.
And staff emergency, I mean, injury, I don't know that we necessarily need to be involved in every time somebody trips and falls at the school. That seems like that's probably not
Serious
extremely
injury?
important, but I wanna know if a staff member's been arrested or if there's a death. We need to be notified of that, because the news hits it immediately and then we're
Yeah,
like,
so I
what's going
think,
on?
we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping you up to breast on these types of things with, via text message, if it's school-related, like it happens with the school.
Right.
We do have staff members that unfortunately do something off the clock, out in the community, and depending on what that is, we may not be notified right away. If it's certain things, we get notified right away, and we usually share that information, so.
Is there any kind of communication that happens between district security and leadership staff of arrests that take place every single day?
It depends, like a misdemeanor, and certain things we wouldn't get notified, certain things we do get notified.
But you do get notification to some degree. Is it possible to share that? Because I'll be, very blunt. This hits the media all the time. I mean, I see it. I can pull up websites where, oh, this has happened, that's happened, and I'm finding out from them and not from the district as far as communication.
Yeah, not to, there's a lot more than what hits the media, so.
Well,
But we'll make sure that we'll come up with like a level, anything above this level,
That's what I
we're
was
gonna
getting
share
at.
with you guys.
okay.
Right, we don't need every broken arm. And
No, yeah, exactly. I'm not asking for that. I'm just
Certain
saying if it's
things,
gonna be a
maybe
news article.
there's a definitive, these are the things that will notify you of.
Yep.
And
Do we want to add serious in front of injury instead of just injury? Like, we don't want to be notified of, like you said, of a stubbed toe, but a serious student injury or serious.
Well, I guess
Staff injury?
that would be an emergency then, right? So it's a
Right.
staff
That'd be an
emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Emergency really kind of does take. you go
Right,
back
that
to
defines it better.
Yep.
All right, I'll just be quiet.
So we're gonna vote for
You're trying,
everything
though.
you, no, I'm
You're
just
gonna
kidding.
be transported to the hospital. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're not gonna go for stuff to.
Right, because that's where you get the parents that are on the internet going, there's an ambulance outside of the school, what's
Okay, great.
happening,
And
those
they're
kind of
always
things, and then
Maybe
it's
it's
like, wait a
just-
minute, I don't know what's happening at the
Right,
school.
and we're not gonna beat
If
those.
our student gets transported, we need to know.
Right, and we're not gonna,
That's-
there's always trash sites out there trying to post anything that says BPS and say,
Well,
I got you
And
before.
to that point, like, there's, if you, for those of us who are at the,
Yeah, they do.
the strategic plan, Janet and their department is trying to shorten the amount of time between the incident and the communication
Yep.
to the parents from the school.
Right.
And we belong somewhere on that timeline, but a lot of times there's a little delay before it gets to us because they're trying so hard to, I don't want them to stop doing what they're doing.
I agree.
To make sure that somebody gets a text to us.
Right.
I want it pretty quickly, but I don't think we want to insert ourselves in there that we would slow the process down.
Agreed, 100%. I'm not intending to slow the process down. I just would like to hear it before an article's written.
Yeah.
If
Right.
possible.
If at all possible.
Well, like I said, yeah, I think GCR, like you said, has a good handle of what we
Okay.
want in the future, so.
All right, the next one I'm gonna be critical on too, since we're doing it, and we're going for it. But
Still on the same page?
Yeah, still on the
Oh,
same page.
same page.
Number 3, so to receive the agenda and the supporting documentation 14 days before the scheduled board meeting, that's not happening right now. So
I
I
think we need to
don't know if we
change
need to change that day because the expectation is just too far out. maybe change it to 7 days. That was one of the things I was a stickler when I was the chair, was I was locking that agenda down. It had to be an emergency if we were changing it, because I wanted you guys to have ample time to really review everything that we were gonna make a decision on at the next board meeting. I like that practice personally. It's hard for me because I find myself right now checking agenda. I mean, literally the morning of, I come in and check the agenda again just to make sure nothing's changed.
Right.
Do we want to operate that way moving forward, or as a board, are you guys comfortable with the way
I
it's
think
happening?
14 days is, there's too much that can happen.
That's too much. That's too long. I
It's too
agree.
long.
Yeah, I think if you do 7, and we'll hold ourselves accountable to that.
Mhm.
I think that makes
Except
sense.
for a couple of.
There's
areas.
some documents
Always.
that we don't want to share till right before.
And
Well,
they just know it might not be ready yet.
The point of
Yeah.
going to 14 was that the agenda gets released at 7 days. And the board wanted the opportunity
Yep.
to look at things before it gets released to the agenda. And to be honest, I'm not ready to go down to 7, because there's been plenty of times that I've gone in, 8, 9, 10 days before and caught something
Yeah.
and emailed Lena or Dr. Rendell and said, hey, this is a mistake. And they had the opportunity to fix it before it got released to the public. So I'm okay maybe going down to 10, but I still would like that release date to the board to be before it gets released to the
what
public
you're saying.
and not be at the same time.
Yeah, actually, I like that.
Yeah, I see.
So if we can
I was thinking of
compromise
the
with a
board,
10
I
or
mean, the
something.
public,
You
and I
do-
thought we
Yeah,
would get
that's what I
things
was
ahead of
thinking.
time too.
So if you do the board on Friday or Monday, so like you could do it, and I understand what you're saying, 1,000%. So some of the stuff that they may be making hires and stuff like that, literally.
Well,
Here's
that,
our
Yeah,
exception.
these
those
are
are
agenda
exceptions which we
items.
have in policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But what I was gonna say is maybe there's an opportunity to say the day like Monday, which is the day before it goes, would be the final day for us to review and look at, and say, hey, that gives it 8 days, or the Friday before, and gives you the weekend to review.
Yeah,
Does that
but
mean-
but I appreciate Mrs. Campbell's point, because she's talking about
Us.
what you guys
Us.
see. And we need to get that out
Right.
soon, like 14 days is, I agree, maybe 10, like if we drop it to 10.
And these are
but-
kind of the guide, and kind of just guidelines,
10
right?
would
I
be
mean,
the Friday before.
Yeah,
if we
but-
can, there's I'm certain there's
There will
things you
always
could
be
get out within
exceptions.
14
Yeah, but I
days.
think, we need to, staff needs to kind of get back to making sure
Good.
you guys see it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It just helps us
Yeah,
to
that's
be
that.
more, prepared
Yep.
when we come to the meeting, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
The same information, I don't feel like anybody's receiving different information that other
No,
members are not.
that was probably from one board
The
member.
board members will treat each other and staff with respect. I think we're pretty good there, guys. We're doing a good job.
Yeah, I think we're good on that page.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, this is
Superintendent,
Dr. Rendell's
where you
page.
tell us what you want from us. All right, get back at us.
No, I think it's all good.
All right, page 4.
You don't have any issues with it?
We need to make sure we read it all before we sign it.
Yeah.
Because I think honestly, on that page, number 5, it's probably one of the most important, that if we're gonna have questions, not that we can't, if we get in the moment and we've got people, public comment, bringing up things that we haven't thought of before that we can't
Yeah.
ask, but we'd really try hard to let people know, to go to a staff member, to Dr. Rendell or to county member and say, hi, I'm gonna ask this question on this item, so they have time to be prepared and they're not deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you remember, the title page is guidelines. These are operating guidelines. This is what we try to adhere to. The idea is I meet with you guys on Monday. If the board meeting's the next day and you alert me to something in our meeting on Monday, great. Obviously, even sooner than that, even better. But let's say Monday night you talk to a constituent and they bring up something, you don't have a chance to tell me before the meeting, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you want to be copied on emails to staff members about questions that's on the agenda?
If it's a question on the agenda, that's probably a good idea.
General questions not on the agenda?
Not
Okay.
usually, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And just so you know, that's not the way it is all the way across the state.
Nope.
Some superintendents are very
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
locked down.
Tried to have one here. All right. 4. All right.
Consent stuff is good.
Yeah, this one's kind of basic. All right.
It says here, board members may request that items be placed on the agenda, but usually when we do that, it's by either the board chair or the majority. That way you don't have like
Oh, yeah.
randomized stuff. I don't know if you guys want to clarify that.
Well, and again, that where the words matter, where it says may
May,
request.
right, doesn't mean it's gonna be on there.
Yeah, and again,
In our
this is,
one-on-ones.
for 2 years now, this has not really been an issue.
Yeah.
Yep, all right, good.
Yeah.
And anybody can put stuff up in discussion time, so.
That's
Sure.
right, and then they could take a vote and add it to the next agenda, so.
Are you on the 5 yet?
Yep, I'm on page
Everybody
5
okay with
already.
I'm checking to see if there's anything we need to update because of changes we've made in public comment.
Grammatical errors and stuff like that?
No, this has been around long enough, I think we got all
On this
that.
one, I'd like to add an observation.
Okay.
So, if Gene doesn't shoot me down again. No, that's if, sometimes somebody will get up and make a comment, public comment, and they'll bring up a concern, and it's legitimate. And a couple times, like after the meeting or whatever, you've gotten down, Megan's gone down, or somebody else gone down and said something to somebody, but oftentimes, somebody will say something that might be a legitimate concern, and then we don't make any kind of response to them, acknowledging that, and then they walk away, whether the staff gets with them afterwards or not. I just think we should have it a point where maybe the staff, the chair points out, staff member, the superintendent or whoever will have somebody get with you or talk to, sometimes we'll point them to somebody in the back of the room, but that's not all the time. I just think being a more consistent way of handling it, so we make sure that people that have, concerns are being addressed, and they just get up and speak their piece, and then it falls off into,
That's
nothing's
fair.
ever done.
Yeah, we do that. We're at one on the page that mentions the public comment stuff.
Number 3, so responses to public comment, is that what you want?
Oh, yeah, on page 5.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
sorry,
agree with
page
you.
5.
Okay.
As long as they're not wearing a tin hat when they're speaking.
Yeah.
It's just a
We
consistent
should-
way of handling it.
Yeah, I think we do a
Something
good
that they have
enough
a
job.
legitimate gripe, we should send them to staff
Right.
and get it worked on.
Some of
What
us.
we don't want to go back to, we did get into a time, beginning of the board, is that after we got down to the public comment time, then every board member would have their time responding to everybody, and it kind of got out of hand,
And it
right?
could just be even it could be even the staff in the back, when they see them
I think,
go address
They're
them.
catching
we do a
you
good
know,
job.
Mr. Dufresne's not here right now, but I think if we just sent them to Dufresne to distribute to whoever it is that they need to go to, I think that would be
Yeah.
Or
fair
what
enough.
about if staff placement was a little bit different in their position on where they're sitting in the room? If they were along that wall, kind of closer, which it puts them on TV, and I'm sure they're gonna go, absolutely not, don't wanna do
Oh,
that, but, because it is kind of like they're back there, maybe sometimes not.
Actually, I think they're on the side now, because we
And
moved
most of them
it.
are now on the east.
Oh, yeah,
Put
cause
the
you move
media
the
back
press to
in
the
the
back
back,
and
yeah.
then.
Right.
I think
Hey, at least they're in the room. In the past, they used to be in the back. in the
Well, and we always
cafeteria.
have to be careful, because it really needs to be the superintendent to direct, so really the chair should look at the
That's
superintendent and
right,
say, hey,
that's
Dr.
what-
Rendell, would it be all right if this person, and
I
then.
don't want to
I would,
Well, typically, the staff member is already approaching them as soon as they're done speaking.
yeah, they're
Right.
kind of
They
getting
usually
up,
go
but I
down.
would prefer that, John, too, is to have, since we're just gonna pick you out
I
on
know, it
this,
feels
right?
like this is what we're
Um,
doing.
Because it may not be the right person that we think is to say, Dr. Rendell, is there somebody here, that could speak to this matter? And if so, can you point them out? Instead of us 5 saying, well, it's Pam.
No, and I agree. I don't think I'm not asking it to come from all of the, it's either the chair or Dr. Rendell.
Correct, yeah, I think that.
Just so they're addressed and they know that they're gonna have somebody.
Right, or the person with the
Yeah.
the gun in the holster, and we
Yep.
can reaffirm them.
Well,
too.
and John, I think your point is valid in the fact that if the public is seeing it and it's a comment that's related to an agenda item and nothing is happening in it, and it does just appear like they just came there and said something, even though they're in the back meeting with the department head, like it's probably worth acknowledging. So maybe Dr. Rendell, if you see that, and you can hop in on,
Yep.
things to our team, so that way they know that it's being addressed, and it's not just being in one ear out the other,
Right,
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I think that otherwise, I think we do a pretty good job on page 5.
I got one nailed down, that's good.
That's awesome.
Well, really, in this review,
We're getting there.
it's especially for you, because we always want to have the
Oh.
outside look, even though you're on the inside now, but like the first time looking at this, that we've kind of gotten used to making sure we're actually doing what we said we're going to do.
Yeah, it was my responsibility. I should have brought it up at the last offsite.
no, we're
Sorry
good,
about
we're
that.
good, we're good. All right, page 6, yeah, got a few things here.
After board meeting agreements, okay.
Number 1, we can always exercise our opinion and to state the reasons for a decision made, whether for or against. Where it says here, but the board members ultimately support the decision of the board as an entity. And for me specifically, support isn't countless news
Yeah.
interviews after you bring something up and it doesn't go your way. So I think
About respect instead of support.
yeah, I think moving forward, I think that would be, something that we just keep in mind. And it talks about it later on. If if you are planning on doing, more interviews than probably what we thought should be done, just a simple courtesy call to the chair, be it whoever it is, and say, hey, this news agency's really wanting a comment, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do an interview. What do you think? So, I would.
I'll disagree with that because I think
You can.
I think we can maybe change support to respect. But I'll use the Calhoun incident as
Yeah.
perhaps is that anytime I spoke to the media, I notified Janet.
Yeah,
what
and
was
I don't
going-
think
what was
Janet's mentioned it, or media, or GCR is mentioned, because on page 8, where we go in, this says prior to response, board members will notify the board chair. It's just something else we want to talk about is the superintendent and the media relations staff. So there's GCR will serve as a spokesperson for the district, and that means district votes, or, board votes. But in 3 there, then it talks about, do an interview, but it says prior to the response. I would even think a written response to a news agency.
But as far as supporting the decision of the board, there's a
Yeah.
difference between respecting and supporting, no matter what side
Yeah.
any of us are
Right.
on. You may never agree with what the decision that the rest of the board made on something. But
No, you don't have to publicly say, now I agree with it. Hey,
Right.
The board made their decision.
I'm okay with changing
We-
that word to respect.
Yeah.
We
Well,
want-
and if your ask is really just that you would like to be notified if an interview is being done,
Well,
or
that's on
if the
page-
chair is
the
to
chair.
be notified.
And
Yeah,
That's on
I don't know
page
why we
8.
put
And I
that
think
in there.
respecting the decision of the board means that you're not, I'm not calling out all the board members
Right, you're not
individually
gonna
or
bash
whatever.
the
It's not a personal
decision.
thing. You might be explaining why you voted a certain way, but you're not necessarily throwing a stone at the rest of the board for.
Correct.
Well, and then also acknowledging, John, the fact that, listen, if one board member votes against what the others do, or 2 vote against, it makes sense, the media's gonna go to those 2 and find out, like,
Correct.
what are they, why are they feeling this way, what are they saying this for? So, that's kind of one of the nuances of this
I mean,
position.
and I just
but-
know personally, I'm going to say the board made their decision. I expressed it at that time, and we move on. I mean,
Yeah.
to me,
I
that's
typically
what
don't talk to the
support
media,
means.
So I usually defer to whoever the chair is. Go ahead and you guys talk to the media.
Right.
So.
So that's all on 6. I think we did.
So are we leaving it as support or as change to respect?
I still think support.
You think support?
I think respect.
I think respect, because you can't ask me as a board member if I vote no and you voted, everybody else up here voted yes. My feelings are still, I don't agree with whatever it is, right?
I think the reason why we left support before was because it made sure we don't want to
'cause there's-
undermine.
Well,
It
yeah,
used to
support
be.
it emphasizes further action, because you can't then, if you don't support it every time it's brought up, or every time you have anything to do with it, you either support it or you don't. So then you're not going to support what the board does moving forward. Respecting just means,
I mean,
okay.
It used to be, if I may,
Sure.
in this document, actually, I might be able to go back, that if you had a differencing of opinion, you made it at the end of the night, and then that was what it was set to be, like, that was it. And so, because I was on the other end of a long run of,
Sure,
some of those
sure.
votes. And so I would speak out that night, and then the next day, they would call me, or the day after, and I would say, I've already said my piece. I'm deferring to the decision on the board kind of stuff. With
There were
that,
some times that the dissenting member, yourself included, did a news interview after the meeting was over and,
after it was over,
right.
but
right.
not days into
Right,
it.
right, you're not going
Right.
on and on and on, and the implementation of it's
Yep.
going on, and yeah, right.
But with that being said, we all are our own board members and can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna be held back.
Right, and I always will respect the decision of board majority and the
Right.
board as board corporate, right? Whatever decision the board makes, it may not always be what I agree with. I will respect it always. So you won't, I'm not gonna be the person that's gonna be out there, bashing that was the wrong decision or whatever.
Right, right.
But I don't think you could also look at an individual and say, I need you to now support what I,
Well, yeah, no
supporting
kissing
means
rings.
like,
It's not what
yeah,
we're
don't
talking
support
I
about.
think it's nuanced, but if
You
we,
support the
like,
action.
respect, to me, respect is a better word, and it can always be changed in
Gene, if you
future
just
years.
respect what everybody else wants, can we move on?
Absolutely. We can
Okay.
go right past. I
We've
don't
got
think-
3 minutes, because I want to honor Dr. Rendell's, because we may have to come back and talk about this some more.
We only have a couple pages
We
left.
got,
We're good.
Okay.
I gotta talk.
Okay, because some of it is the ethics, we don't have to review that.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So 7, site visits, I think we do.
I get,
a
if I
great
may,
job there. Go
number
ahead.
6,
On which page are we
On page 7,
Okay.
when visiting teachers with their own school board, board members make it clear that they're acting as parents rather than board members. That's totally fine. What's that?
I guess, that's weird. I mean.
When you're visiting with teacher, like if you come to a
Yeah,
parent,
your kid's
teacher.
open house.
Oh, okay, I'm just
Right.
thinking like, if I'm visiting a school and I
Right.
pop into classrooms.
Oh, you know.
Which is that's exactly what it is. So I had a principal say to me, come out and say, you need to call me ahead of time and tell me if you're coming here as a parent or as a school board
Call
member.
you ahead of time.
Right? So what I would say in here is if there's some way we can put in there, the board members are allowed to visit their family kids when they're at the school, you know what I mean? Without having to notify and come back at a
Well,
different
that's,
time.
that's protected in state statute. We're allowed to go to the school.
We can go
Yeah.
whenever we want.
But Matt Susan, the parent of name one of his children, doesn't get to just walk into the school anytime he wants to and wander around and whatever. That's different, right?
But what I'm saying is
But
that
to
if I
me,
go
this
to the
is
school
saying if
board-
I'm having a
if I go to
parent
the
meeting-
board meeting, or if I go to the school and I visit the school on a not a weekly basis, on a school visit, and my kid's in there, and I got a lot of kids in a lot of schools.
Yeah, you do.
You have
I
more
wanna
kids than we
pop
have
in-
schools.
I want to pop in and say hi to my kid. There shouldn't be a barrier there. I should just be able to do it.
There absolutely should not be a barrier. Maybe the word is not when,
Maybe
maybe
it's that's a Mr. Susan rule because he's being disruptive. So.
I mean,
Nothing about this
so I think it's fair to say I'm coming here as a parent versus a board member because you may have to step foot in that classroom or that whatever as a board member, even though your child's sitting there. So
Should we change that to if? Then
If.
when visiting the teacher, board
Yeah.
members will make it clear if
If
they're acting as parents rather than as board
board
members.
I would just get rid of the damn thing.
Just get
Yeah.
rid of it.
I mean, you're a board member no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
that-
it's such an
It
odd
kinda
thing.
does seem-
Not quite
But
sure why
but if
it's
I'm in
there.
a parent-teacher meeting or I'm in my child's IEP meeting, there's a different vibe, and I feel sometimes the extra
And you should
pressure
know
that
that
I
no
can
matter
bring.
what.
I know that I do that, but to the other people,
I know, I know.
it can be weird.
I know. I mean, I had to use that phrase yesterday. I'm talking as a parent.
Yeah.
Don't do things you wouldn't do for
To
any
me,
other
rather
parent.
than eliminating this whole
So
item, change that
so
to
when
if.
visiting teachers in regards to their own, into regard to matters.
Do we write in it when
with-
Mr. Susan is
in
visiting?
regards-
No,
Make it
when
clear
visiting with
if they're
teachers of
acting-
their own
Matters.
children, board members will make it clear if they are acting as parents
Yes.
rather than board members.
Yeah, that's fine.
When visiting
That's good.
with teachers in regards to matters with their own children.
Yeah.
Board
Did you
members will
catch
make
that,
it
Lena?
clear if
No.
they are
If
acting.
I'm making notes.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Bell's got it.
And then otherwise the assumption would be,
All good
you're
there.
there. as well.
On the next page, something you were talking about a little
Yes.
while ago, we've not ever done this. Prior to response, board members will notify the board chair if they want to make their own. We've not, so the most we ever did when I was first on the board, sometimes we would, in our group text, we would say, hey, I'm doing an interview with Wes 2. I'm just letting you guys know.
Mhm.
You know, it was just kind of a courtesy, and we've gotten away from that. We don't do that, so we don't. It's part of. But I don't necessarily think that I need to. And it's not asking for permission,
Right.
But that I need to go to the chair and say I'm about to do this interview.
It's probably just good practice for us all
I-
to notify each other if you're doing an interview.
Back
because-
back to that is exactly that. It's not asking for permission, and it doesn't matter if it's me or
Right.
Matt or whomever. And it is, you don't want to be blindsided. And again, Ms. Wright, you mentioned about other places printing things before the other board members see it, and that even happens or could happen with an interview.
Yeah.
And it gets taken, and then you get called and said, hey, Paul Smith did an interview and said that the board's thinking of this, and it's like, I didn't even know Paul was talking to the news. I think it's good practice moving forward, and a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I mean,
Can
if
we
someone's
take off
calling.
chair? Can we just say prior to response, board members will notify the rest of the board or the board?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why,
Where are we at?
again, the reason why they
23.
use the chair too is because
Page 8.
a particular board member shouldn't be talking about the board in general, right?
Right.
You should
You're
be
doing
talking
this-
about your specific,
Right.
my district, my thought,
Mhm.
but that's why I thought it's nice to talk to the chair because they speak on behalf of the board. I remember one conversation you had with Mr. Susan when he was chair. You guys were talking about, or when he wasn't chair, that you shouldn't be speaking about. You guys
Right.
had those great conversations on the board
Right.
there. But just in case that board member's like, well, yeah, I want to talk about this topic, and really, the chair says, well, that's really a board thing, maybe it, so I think a conversation with the chair isn't a bad idea. Again, it's a guideline.
I think it should be just common courtesy that everyone's notified, because
But
the
not
other flip side-
conversation,
Do we want-
notification.
When
Yeah.
I say conversation, I mean a notification, even if it's through GCR or Lena or whomever, somehow to be, you just can't really talk about it ahead of time unless it's things that you've already voted on and talked about. But I always thought coming on here, that's how it was.
Right.
Even my first year, when somebody would reach out to me, I think Matt was the chair at the time, I'd get a hold of whomever or the superintendent and say, hey, can you run it through, the chair and see if it's okay if we do this? So we can kind of stay all on the same page.
Can I make a suggestion? Instead of saying prior to response, say when possible, or something to that effect. So, because you may get hit, you may walk out of the building and get interviewed by somebody.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, then.
And so when,
the answer's
and then,
no.
or soon thereafter, have GCR let GCR notify us all, so we're not getting accused of talking about a subject.
Yeah, I mean,
Have
something we
Janet
need
do
to
a
think
me-
on
a-
that
A
is-
group text to everybody saying that this happened, or?
I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to be a fan of anything that limits our ability to talk to the press as we choose, especially since we have it delineated that the chair is the spokesperson for the board.
Yeah.
Right.
But individual board members, we even have it in policy, can speak to the media and to the public as we choose, and it's clear that it is our personal opinion. So
Okay.
I'm
Strike
okay
that
with
line.
notification.
Yeah, what if?
Yeah,
But
at minimum,
I think it
I
needs
like
to
the
be to the board.
notification.
If the chair's the only one who knows, and maybe Fox 35's contacted all 5 of us.
Mhm.
If somebody goes, oh, hey, I just did an interview with so and so, then that takes the pressure off the rest of us too. Go, oh, go, then I.
Yeah, we don't need to speak to
Yeah,
them. because
unless
they've
I
already-
want to.
That's a big reason, you're right.
Well, as
So
a courtesy, the
should be
board
to the
members
board
will.
and not to just the board chair.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right. I like that too, because there's times where I've said so-and-so's reached out and.
You
So
wanna-
when
you wanna say
possible,
will, or
board
do you
members
wanna
will
say it when
notify
possible?
other board members of any potential interviews that we do, so that we,
Yeah.
I mean, ahead of time if preferably, but.
Do we want
sometimes-
The
to
group text is.
strike the prior to response? As a courtesy, board members will notify the rest of the board if they do media
Is it
interviews.
the rest of the board, or do you want it to be GCR?
Well,
Let her send out
Because
the
typically,
text.
that's what's been happening is Janet's been texting each of you.
Right.
To
But
say
that's
that
if somebody
one of you is-
tells them.
Yeah, if he's made aware.
But a lot of them just reach out to us individually too, so.
No, I'm saying
It'll
once
give it
one of
later.
you makes
Does the
us
interview.
aware
Then
that you're gonna
it
do
gives
an
them
interview,
time
or you
sunshine, too.
did an interview.
Yeah, it does.
Janet usually sends it out.
That's, sounds better.
I
If you
like that.
accidentally said something like, I just spoke in favor of this
Right.
to.
I would hope that we're all intelligent
Yeah, we
enough
wouldn't
not
wanna
to say
say
that.
I've seen some
My
dumb
goodness.
school board
Yeah.
members.
Okay,
So we wanna process it through GCR is what you're saying?
Yeah, so we'll rewrite that sentence and
Good.
to when possible,
Okay.
and then we'll notify,
Yeah.
probably
I
say
think that's-
GCR. And then knowing that the next step is to notify all board members.
And I do like how you brought that up, where it takes the pressure off
I don't like
of somebody
number
else
6.
not having to do anything.
The board members have no individual authority to solve problems, like, yes, we do. I mean, there are times when we can fix an AC that's not working correctly, or,
But
I
you
need-
can't. You
Uh-huh.
can't fix the
No,
AC.
no, I know, but I'm just saying,
I think
let's
that's
be
the
real.
intent of that
We
point.
are traffic directors a lot of times.
That was
of
taking
like,
the
yeah, sure, we
tools
can get
away
that,
from
no
Mr.
problem.
Susan, that was taking
I can
the-
fix it. Wow.
Yeah.
What purpose does that even serve?
But-
Well, if you have a scenario where a parent calls and says, this teacher is treating
Yes, I
my
know
second grader
exactly,
poorly
yeah.
and I want him in a different class, the board members should not think that we can go to the superintendent or the principal and say, move this child. We do not have the authority to do that.
No.
We are only traffic cops.
Right, we're traffic controllers.
So we're not solving problems, we're pointing people in the right direction.
I beg to differ, Ms.
It
Campbell,
just
because that
sounds-
volleyball team at Space Coast very much appreciated the air conditioning that was turned.
Well,
Yeah.
again, you were the traffic cop, you picked, you
Right.
got it right
You
over the
can't-
sewer.
I didn't
You
turn the
can't
AC
turn
on.
the AC
You're-
on,
you're
right.
It just sounds bad.
Yeah.
No individual authority.
That's good. No, we're all good on that. We're good, and we can go right through these next couple. Yeah,
Number 11 on page 10, when you guys get there.
we're there.
Just,
Oh, I
I've seen
did.
it before, I was watching it happen a lot recently with a lot of the Supreme Court decisions where the head Supreme Court chair or whatever would say, you know what, for this one, this person was passionate about it and should speak for the majority. You know what I mean? And so sometimes we have initiatives and stuff like that where, you know, Megan might bring one up, or John, or Katie. I think the board chair should just say we can designate a person to speak on a specific item, so that every time it pops, GCR just reaches out to that person. Does that make sense? I'm okay with that.
I think it still needs to be the board chair. That's pretty standard.
Okay, well, it's just trying to, you know, there's some of the things that the person inside the community is really advocating for and should get the.
What about the board chair, or is their designee?
Well, I think
Yeah.
the chair, whoever the chair is, can, like you said, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Is that way the
can
board chair has the
designate.
discretion of
Yeah.
deciding?
Yeah.
I
But
just felt.
that's one of the reasons why we have this on page 8, is that
Uh-huh.
you still should have the ability to talk to the public and to the media
I
about issues that you're
agree.
passionate
I just
about.
think that sometimes there's some groups of people that are, some of
You
our
mean, you're
people-
talking about a specific person on the board, so if
Right,
it's a
like, so
music
if Megan
initiative,
brings-
I'm
right.
turning it over to Ms.
That's it.
Campbell.
That's it.
She
So
can
if we
do
have a
that.
big, like all of a sudden our music is off the charts and it's doing great and everything else, well, Ms. Campbell should be able to
Go
speak
for
to
it, Ms.
that.
Campbell. Sing us a song.
And I think that, because I think one of the things we could do is the board chair is supposed to speak to the majority, but also should let the people shine that are doing the work also. You know what I mean? So that's all, just an idea. If I ever become chair, I'll probably delegate a lot of it.
Number 14, board, I'm just gonna
All
ask you
right.
to look at that last.
I think we're
sentence.
moving on, right? That was good, though.
Let's try to put that back in practice.
What is it?
Number 4, or it's on page 11.
13,
Number
avoid
4.
marathon board
Number
meetings.
4 on page 11.
We agree to move to the question when the discussion is repetitive. We will not go in circles.
Yep.
Okay.
And when a question's called, you go right to vote.
Unless someone else is going, I have more discussion, like, you know.
No, I think Paul, is Paul here?
Yeah.
Once somebody calls a question, you gotta go right to vote.
Only unless
No, Paul.
everybody has not had their one opportunity to speak on a topic. So
Okay.
if like the second person's talking and
Mhm.
you're like, hey, I moved the question, it's like, well, no, everybody gets one shot to talk. After their one
Trying to
time,
stop
you
everyone.
can
Yeah,
move
no, it's just-
the question.
But you can call the question anytime after that.
Yeah, after everybody's had their shot or waived their shot at talking, it can be called.
And anybody can call the question.
After.
On the board.
Yeah.
Right.
Board-
Can't-
board member.
Audience can. Dr. Rendell, I don't know, did Dr. Rendell call the question? He gets
No.
frustrated with it?
No. Before.
Yeah,
The board will not play to the audience.
no, I don't think hopefully we're not doing that. No. It could have been brought up, but.
Boy, that one was violated a lot.
I think. I'm glad I'm in between.
Number
you two.
3 on page 12.
Oh, I thought we were.
Okay.
If we're gonna change that one, we need to change supported to respected by the entire board.
Oh, that's in
Yeah.
policy 1, 2, 3.
Hmm?
This is actually our policy.
Which
It was good.
you wanted supported?
Made these decisions.
These decisions must be respected by the entire board, right? Same thing as the
You
other
gotta
one?
pull the policy up. and discuss
You
it.
gotta change the policy.
It's-
Well,
Policy, policy.
Yeah.
because this is taken directly, but when is the last time this has been updated? Have we updated board policy 0123 since this has been?
We should probably check and
We
make
need
sure
to
it
probably
matches.
cross-reference those
Yeah.
two, because we might need to go back to that policy and.
But this is an actual policy. Right?
It's
The
not
other
the
things
exact
aren't policy.
language, but yeah, if we have a problem with it there, you probably want it.
Yeah.
I think we need an
That's-
English person to talk about what's it really mean when you say supported versus respected.
To me, support is like change your,
Yeah,
it almost
yeah,
feels like you're
yeah.
changing your
Number
mind.
three
Right,
is,
like you agree.
Paul, we
Like
got
support
a
Number
word.
3 is word for word from 123C.
Sorry, what?
It's word for word 123C on policy.
Okay. But is the rest of this the
We should
same? Like,
probably
when's the
check
last
it.
time we updated policy 0123?
It would have been reviewed when we did the
Yeah.
full book a couple years ago.
Do you see any revisions that we made?
The last
How many
actual
times we tried to do
revision
that? We
was
did.
23.
School board. tried
Okay,
to do
so
it.
before we pull this up to sign
Yes,
it,
sure, you
can
know.
we just make sure that there's not any
Oh,
little
it's
changes?
From the campaign.
From
Yeah,
policy
this time.
0123
That's not.
Yeah.
or additions
Yeah. We're at
in the code of ethics
Savannah's
is
golf course.
there in policy.
Is he leaving?
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Okay, yeah, you gotta get to
Thank
the.
you.
Let you guys finish up.
All right.
It is. All right, now we can talk about Rendell.
That's
Okay.
right.
Do that evaluation.
Do my evaluation.
I know. Do we
Board
have that
members,
date
the code
set?
of ethics, which that's, I mean,
That's-
FSBA is really good about doing that, giving us the free training there, so just make sure that Lena has it on file though, because I think, didn't we have something with an audit or something that you
I
needed?
have them all.
Okay.
And then we're gonna do the, the ethics training here.
Right.
So,
September 30th.
so everybody, I'll have a copy of
That
their
door.
certificate.
So I believe that these things are also in policy 0123, so if we can just make sure that with our revision, that changes, because I think this page, this code of ethics on it is, it comes straight out of statute, and I think it is in that policy. I wouldn't swear to it, but I,
Rendell's policy 60, or evaluation 60 days from the release of the grades, so the clock's ticking on that.
okay.
For his evaluation?
What is the 60-day?
When was the
From
release of the
when
grade? That was
grades
last
were
week?
released.
And what day
Oh,
was
no,
that?
it's been like,
He would have to probably give you the dates. I think I was out of the office.
2 weeks ago? I'm like, what day was it on? I
I
don't.
think it was a Friday or
Okay,
something.
because I know he's turned in his.
No, it was definitely in July we got the grades.
Prepared, so.
Okay.
Because we were saying we couldn't even do his evaluation last time we met because we
Yeah,
didn't
until
have
the
it.
grades were released, because so many of his metrics are tied to how the
Right.
district does, so he
Right.
needs to do that. So the board said 60 days from that. That gives him 30 days to prepare the self-evaluation, and
Right.
then 30 days for the board to review and do their evaluation.
so we need his self-evaluation
Yeah,
before we
and,
can do
and it's
anything
in
with it.
Allison's hands right now. so
Okay.
So
Okay.
she's
That'll be
preparing
coming
his
to you
part.
soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll check with when the actual grades were released. I don't remember. I want to say it was a Friday, but I could be off on that.
I was pulling it up because I posted it on Facebook the next day, but I can't see it.
Okay.
Anyway,
I think
Did
we
you
got
guys
a
make a
text.
decision on next Tuesday's board work session?
I think the only thing on there was Sue's presentation, and she completed it, so, I mean,
It's a board consensus, so.
What do we have to do?
not have a
Board
meeting
meeting.
next Tuesday
Work-
afternoon?
work
The
session.
work session, yeah.
We have to have a meeting, but
Yeah, the
Right,
work
we're not
session
doing
a work
at
session.
2 o'clock.
Yeah,
is
rock on.
canceled.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Sounds
Well,
good.
it would just be us.
So canceling the work session at 1 o'clock?
Right.
School board meeting is still at 5:30.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Tea time at
Have
12:45. I think we're.
I like 9 o'clock meetings in the morning.
I do too.
Me too.
Oh, the
I
budget
know I
one
like
can't
the
be in
9
the
o'clock
morning
meetings.
anyway.
Yeah.
think I'm
Well,
gonna
it's
move
still
on.
summer,
Rank
right?
'em out.
But we have to on that one.
Are we-
Yeah, we have
Budget-
to.
the
We have
budget
to.
has
I'm
be
not
at
The
saying
nine
budget
that.
has to be
I'm
at
just
night.
saying
Yeah,
that.
that has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other board member have anything further to discuss? All right. If there's no further business, the meeting is adjourned.